Spencer. We're swapped around again.
Huh?
We're swapped around again.
Yeah, but I know you do it on purpose.
And we're off to another one.
Hey.
Hey. Hello, everyone.
Good to hear.
We got
comments.
yeah.
I'm not even talking to Troy. Troy didn't even text or call or anything. Just makes a surprise entrance.
I'm unpredictable.
Hey, he called me yesterday evening about 5 o'clock. He's like, "Hey, I'm heading your way." I said, "Well, come on. You know where it's at. Get up here." So he kind of spontaneously showed up, and so we got an extra guest. It always took a while to get Troy.
Hey, do I need to put a hat on? Is this glare blocking anything?
No. If I took mine off, I'd shine right there with you.
For all those people out there in YouTube land that's been watching the show that don't know this gentleman right here. Right. If y'all have heard
Georgia Tracker.
If y'all have heard of Georgia Tracker, you may or may not. But the most important thing when you hear Coonbo talk about his brother from another mother that's had more encounters than he had and dealt with boogers longer than he had, here's the man. Here's like me and Coonbo talk about. Troy's probably had more experiences hands-on than anybody we could ever think of.
But I don't do a lot of podcasts.
Don't do a lot. You don't do any.
I know. I'm just not into that thing, but I'm easing into it.
Yeah, it's baby steps with Troy. So look, I'm proud today that he's here, and y'all, we got a great show lined up today. We got another friend of mine. He's from South Alabama. He's going to be on here, and I met this guy. Met him through one of the hunting pages on Facebook, one of the Alabama hunting pages, and got knowing him several years ago. We hit it off, commenting on posts. Then we started messaging each other and just hit it off. Struck up a friendship. I've had him up here at my man cave. He come up here and hunted with me a few years ago. We didn't talk about boogers. Nothing was brought up about boogers. I didn't know that he had anything about boogers till I found out kind of. I'll go into that in a little bit. But let me just tell you, we've got an awesome guest. This guy is, y'all see, y'all just let's just bring him out, Spencer.
Yeah, let's bring him out. There he is. Gerald.
Hey, everybody. Pretty good, y'all. Everything okay?
Super glad for you to come on here with us and honored that you're coming on here and willing to talk with us.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Nice to be here.
Well, Gerald, do you want to give these people a little background? I mean, you got to narrow it down. Just kind of maybe tell them how old you are, where you grew up, how long you've been into hunting.
My name is Gerald Johnson. I'm 51 years old. I've been hunting since I was like 9 years old, and seen a lot of things that I wouldn't talk about. Done a lot of things that I wouldn't talk about, but I really want to talk about this subject, and I really want to share what happened to me.
We're glad you're here.
And guys, let me tell you something. Gerald is he knows his way around the woods, guys. I mean, I've seen a lot of the pictures of the animals that Gerald's put on the wall. And those of you that don't know Gerald's an avid hunter. He hunts deer, hogs. That man killed more hogs than the guy got. I'm talking about, and got some nice bucks on the wall. That man is an outdoorsman. And I've got it kind of up for grabs. I'm not sure if he leans toward hunting or fishing, because his Facebook, he makes me envious because he's always got pictures of fish all the time.
A little bit of both. A little bit of both, Greg. I want to be outdoors as much as I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before we get going on the story, though, Gerald, you got to tell everybody about the basketball and how big you are, so people have a understanding of where you're coming from when you describe this thing.
Say again.
You got to tell everybody about your sports background and your size, so that everybody can appreciate it's coming from a guy as big as you whenever you start describing this stuff.
Well, I'm a former basketball player. I played basketball college, high school, college, and I played 3 years overseas. I'm 6'7" right now, 310 pounds. So, and like I said, I played with a lot of people that are over 7 feet tall. And I'm, I think I'm a good judge of height and probably a even better judge of weight. So I think I can accurately say about the height and weight of what I saw.
My point being, the dude is almost 7 foot tall. He's had a lot of experience with 7 foot tall things. He's an avid outdoorsman, and he's just a big guy in general. So whenever he's telling you what happened to him, think about it from that point of view. Anyway, because he's got some good stuff. Sorry, I get giddy.
It's like when I hold up something, let's say I hold up a fish I caught or a deer that I've killed, my friends are like, oh, that's not big, until someone else holds it up.
Yeah.
And I don't realize my own size until, maybe I'm walking with someone and we walk up to a business or something, and, you can see your reflection in the glass, and I see myself standing over everybody else. In my mind, I'm the same size as everybody else until I see it.
No, you ain't. I'm 5'10". I'm 5'10", and I weigh half of you.
I got a dog that feels the same way, and he beats me up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get it going, man. How the whole thing happened with Bigfoot? I mean,
well, I got a friend of mine. He got offered the chance to hunt on some property. It had been clear cut maybe a couple of years before, and it was an older lady that she was leasing the property, and she said that no one wanted to lease the property anymore.
Where at?
In Plantersville, Alabama. She said that if we did a little work for her or cleaned up a little around the trailer that she had on the property, that we could hunt the property for free. So it was probably late March. I know it was into turkey season, and we went to scout the property, and we knew it was hogs on the property, and I had let's say I had a 12 gauge shotgun on my shoulder, and I had a 40 caliber on my side, and my buddy basically the same, 12 gauge 45 on his side. And the property, when they clear cut property, they create the logging roads or whatever they go through. But these logging roads had kind of grew up and had grass on them. Maybe it kind of looked like a green field, maybe. So during the time we was walking, and, just by luck, the wind was in our face going in. We actually came in the gate, opened the gate, pulled in, parked, had a trailer, 4-wheel on the back of the trailer. We made noise. I don't understand, how we got up close to what we actually got up close to. But we made noise coming in. And we was walking down the logging road. It kind of dipped down into a little hollow, and then we went up an incline. And while we're walking, by me being a hunter, I'm not going to talk or make a lot of noise. Like, I point to my friend, like, deer trail, left or right. And we, like I said, we wasn't making much noise. And when we kind of topped this incline, we saw this big grayish brown ball. I would say it was probably, as far as how it was then, I'd say 5 feet tall. But my friend that was with me, he yelled out at that point, "Look at this hog! Look at the hog!" And when he said that, what we saw stood up. And when I say stood up, I thought it would never keep going as it was coming up. And it, like, it's kind
How
of
far
hard.
were you from it? How far were you from it when that happened?
35, 40 yards.
Yeah, so
Close, pretty
close.
And if you're going by, I was facing directly toward it. It was, his right side was to me. But when it stood up, it faced us. And my friend, who was like, let's say he was on my right side, he was probably a foot behind me. But like I told Greg, he ended up being behind me, which I told him, after the fact was a problem. But when it stood up, I'm standing here and I'm looking at this thing. I'm looking into the face of this thing, and I could tell, like I told Greg again, I could tell it was thinking. It was looking at us like, what the hell? Like, how did you get here and how did you get this close to me? So my buddy, I could feel him kind of getting behind me. And I didn't remember when it initially happened, but I put my hand on my sidearm. And when I put my hand on my sidearm, his facial expression changed to the expression went from like, what the hell, to uh-oh. And when it did that, like, by me being a basketball player, I'm gonna say it ran left, but it pivoted right. It took a step back, spent to its right, almost put his hand on the ground, and it took off. And where it went through these, when you clear cut property, it grows back and it's really thick.
Yeah.
It went through this thick stuff, like, it would have took me 15 minutes to go through what it went through in seconds. I would have had to cut my way through this. And when it went through it, it went up an incline and into the wooded area that hadn't been cut, and I could look at it across the back. And like I said, the lower back was lighter than the rest of it, like the shoulders, on the shoulders, it had like a mane. Like I told Greg, it was like a lion, like what would you call a mullet? You would call, like, it had the hair on the shoulders, on the back of it was thicker than everything else. And the
Like
hair
a
on the
hyena.
lower,
Like how a hyena's got the real thick mane down their back, down to their
Not
shoulder.
I would say not as pronounced, but wider. It was like here across both shoulders and like almost in between the shoulder blades.
Mm-hmm.
And the lower back was a lighter color than the rest of it. That's why I was telling Greg, I'm thinking of like a silverback. And I also told him what I saw. By me seeing it, it wasn't old. It was in like excellent shape. It was like I told Greg, if I had to equate it to a person, it would be a man in his late 20s that worked out a lot. That worked out, I would say, every day. It looked like a football player, I would say. He had on full pads, but with longer arms almost to his knees. And the speed of this thing, I'm like, again, like I keep referring back to Greg because I've talked to Greg about this before. The speed of it was like you watching a Saturday morning cartoon with superheroes. It was like, just how could something that big move that fast? It can go from 0 to 100.
And
Wait till you see one belly crawl about as fast as you can run.
I don't want to see it.
I mean,
nobody wants to see that.
Mm.
Let me ask you a question, Gerald. Being in a professional sports bracket and doing what you've done in your life, you know the difference between like explosive power where somebody just takes off. Okay, how quick whenever it pivoted and then it took off. How explosive, how quick was it? We're not talking about somebody where they've already gotten up to speed and they're running at their top speed. How quick did this thing move and how agile was it? Can't hear you.
We got muted somehow.
You're muted.
Do you have something going on with your microphone or something? We can't hear you, Gerald.
I lost him. We can still see you, Gerald. We just can't hear you.
Can you go out and come back in, please? Just
press the volume button. Just hit the volume button up once and see if it kicks it back on.
Still can't hear. Hey, this is how we roll. We always got that.
We've always got issues. Gerald, just leave the studio and come back in. Just go out and come back in.
I wonder if he can hear us.
I wonder, Gerald, can shake your head. Can you hear us?
Okay, now he's muted. Now he's unmuted.
No,
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can't hear you at all. There you go.
Yeah. He's well, I mean, it froze up backstage too. He's got something going on with his internet.
Yeah. I told everybody what I tell y'all. I said, be ready for today. It's gonna be good.
Troy.
Yes, sir.
When you coming on and doing part one of
I'm going to soon. I'm going to.
We're gonna have it's gonna be like a trilogy with Troy.
It's got to be. Well, I mean,
I'm just gonna cover. I won't Kumbo with me, but we're gonna cover because a lot of stuff later on that I've done has been with Kumbo. But I want Kumbo there, with me, and because I mean, dude, I can't. It take 20, 30 shows to cover shit that I've seen so much. I've been dealing with these things since I was 5 years old, So it take a while, but yeah, I'm gonna do a show for you, and I'm just kind of going. I want to kind of get, I know a lot of people like to hear them stories and stuff, so I want to kind of cover them, but I'd also like to throw in some other information at the same time.
Are you going to come to the meet and greet?
Yeah, for at least for a couple days.
If we do lives, if we have signal and we can do several lives during the meet and greet, maybe we can make one of those just like a sit down and do like a part one introduction, because
now you want to put me in front of a damn bunch of people and have me do a podcast. That ain't happening.
I'll get you off to the side and we'll just do it private. But
a guy go stay in the woods and stay away from people. I'll sleep in the woods before I sleep in campsite because I don't like people as much.
If we can y'all hear Gerald now?
Gerald. No, still
no volume. We can't hear your voice, Gerald.
There you go. Get your wife to help you.
That's what I do. That's the sun coming in there. Just say a little part of it. I don't know why we're not having any volume. We got a great picture, Gerald, if you can hear me.
Are you using your phone?
iPad? Is that what you said? iPad? Do you have Bluetooth on somewhere? Turn your Bluetooth off in case it's going somewhere else.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Got you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I have to get my kids to show me all the time.
Thank you.
That's what it did.
I didn't want to hold my laptop on my phone, so I got his iPad. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Hey, that's the way we roll, brother. I mean, we always got that difficulties.
This is real life.
And as far as you was talking, you asked me about how fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before I could draw my weapon, I would say, and fire, he was gone.
Yeah, but the same thing. If he wanted to have got y'all to, you might would have got one shot off before he got to you. Maybe.
I told.
We lost him again.
You're gone again. Can't hear you again.
He's cutting in and out.
Are you touching the screen or one of the buttons with the side of your finger?
I wonder if the Bluetooth kicked back on.
Me and JR does that. Like we've got a little speaker that we share when we're outside working, and it does the same thing. It'll connect to whoever's closest, and then I've got phone calls, and it'll just kick me right out of my phone call.
Yeah.
And now you're gone, Gerald. We can't.
He's
Now we can see you.
Still can't hear.
Can't hear you.
I bet you it's Bluetooth into something.
Yeah.
Just turn the Bluetooth off. Go under settings and just turn it off.
Yeah, he said he turned it off.
I thought that's what. But now I've got some of my stuff. It'll kick the Bluetooth back on by itself.
Well,
Chris,
Live.
to answer Christy's question, I hope Gerald's
Thank you, Lene.
Great.
Thank you,
Thank
Lene.
you.
Hey, Lene. Thanks.
Yeah,
While he's trying to get right.
We've invited Gerald to the meet and greet.
Yeah, I was explaining the meet and greet to Gerald earlier before the show, and I'm really hoping he's going to come. Yeah.
Spencer, I'm probably going to go early. I'm probably going to go to Holland's hunting camp. I'm probably going to go early.
Say something now. No, can't hear you.
Golly.
What? Actually, hold on. Actually,
this is the way it goes.
studio. Gerald, leave the studio. Hit the red X down at the bottom where it says leave studio. Leave the studio and come back in. Something's up. Just come back in.
Well, you know what's up. Look, we talked to him this whole time with no problem backstage.
I know.
Stuff don't want things being talked about. And he's doing a really good job of explaining, like,
Oh yeah,
you know, how it looks, and
He just got to the good part.
for the raffle.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bama.
That's the man in black.
I can't get it to pull up. Hang on. Oh.
I bet. Hey, I'm just hoping that Bama's been practicing with his slingshot. Been practicing that way he can do exhibition shooting.
Wow.
Great.
Jacqueline.
Man, look at there.
Sorry, Spencer. I didn't mean to take it off.
No,
Jacqueline,
thank you very much.
thank
We're buying stuff, and then a lot of it goes to food and everything, and the firewood and all that kind of stuff. Thank you very much, ma'am. Greatly appreciate that.
Well, let me do something right quick while we're waiting on Gerald. Here was the letter.
Awesome.
That's what I was going to say.
My wife told me, said Chris Reinhardt sent money, and I said, baby, I don't think so. She gave me this letter. And
Hey, can you hear me now?
We got you, Gerald. We got you. Hang on one second, Gerald. I got this letter right here. Y'all came all the way from Naples, Utah. Chris, that was at the meet and greet at the LBL. That came all the way from Utah. All right, here's his letter. It says, hey, Greg, here's a little something to help with the hospitality at the next meet and eat. So he's put, doubt I'll make it this time, but sure enjoyed passing through at the last one. Got to ride along with Sherry, Donna, Anthony, and Spencer Thursday night. Tried helping with Gary Spikes, and as he figured out how to get into Christy's car, it was locked. When she locked the keys in the door or inside. And I was, let's see, y'all ain't got my reading glasses. Let's see. Anyway, it goes on to say that he was in camp when something was creeping around behind the tents over there.
Behind Roger's area. Yeah.
And he said, good times. He said, appreciate you guys. Best wishes and God bless, Chris. And y'all,
Thank you, Chris.
Right here's what he sent. He sent $42 to put on $42 to go on groceries. The man took out, sent us a letter, mailed it to us because this is overwhelming. And yes, this will go toward the next meet and greet to add in to help me buy the groceries to cook. So
and get your story straight. Greg didn't just cook all that food by himself. He had help. Greg cooked this. Greg did that. He had help.
Out.
Alan Roy was, I believe, the puppet masters behind the curtain.
Hey,
All right, let Gerald finish his story. So Gerald,
Yes,
this
sir.
thing took off through thick ass bramble that you would have had to cut your way through. By the way, when it took off, did it sound like could you hear it tearing up everything as it was going
Yeah.
away, or was it quiet?
Yes. Like if I was to take my 4-wheeler and drive it through this stuff, that's what it sounded like.
And then was it just gone? Did it just leave, disappear?
Okay, this is the part that really got to me. When it got up into the wood line and got out of our sight, it made this like funny noise, like whoop. But it was really loud. Like I could feel it. It was loud.
That's
And
them letting the other ones know you were there.
I would say about 150 yards to my left, another one made the sound. Well, we heard the sound come from that way. And then I say about 300 yards from my right, we heard the sound again from that way. And my buddy was like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "We going to the truck.
Yeah.
That's what we about to do." And see, I wanted to go and see what it was doing. But once we heard the sounds, I didn't care what it was doing. So we got out of there. And when we left, we stopped at a gas station, probably about a mile away from the property. And we were talking amongst ourselves. He was like, I'm not gonna tell anybody. And I was like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I was like, I just don't know what I'm gonna do. And a lady in the gas station overheard us. And small elderly lady, probably about 75. She was like, "Oh baby, y'all ain't seen nothing but the hairy man." She said, "We've been seeing him around here for years."
No shit.
She said they come in every spring to eat the peaches out of the peach orchards. And she told us that they've run several people out of the woods. And she, like I said, I told Greg, I wish I could have just sat and talked to her. But like I said, I was so shook up. My only concern was get home and try to figure out what the hell I just saw. And like I said, even when she was telling me this, and after what I saw, I'm still not believing. Like this isn't real. This maybe it was somebody in a suit, but in my mind, I'm knowing like I've been in the woods too long. Ain't no way in hell nobody know we was going there that day. The lady that owned the property, she didn't know we was going that day. Hell, we didn't know we was going that day. We just had time off and just decided to go. And I said, if it was somebody in a suit, it had to be a hell of a suit and a hell of a man to do what he did. And like I said, I'm.
What?
Go ahead.
How big was it compared to you?
Like I told, I'll keep referring to Greg because, like I said, I've told him this story. Like I said, I have a buddy. He's been my buddy for a long time, and he is 7'4". And I remember us taking a picture together in college. And like I said, the top of my head reaches right in between his shoulder blades. And like I told you, my 7'4" buddy, I think the top of his head would reach the same place that mine reached on him, and it would reach the middle of what I saw shoulder blades. So I'm saying it's over 8.5 feet tall. And like I said, it wasn't old, because when you look at something's face and you look at the body, it was like a younger person. Mm-hmm. A person like I say, in great shape. And like I said, I don't have anything to compare it to. I don't know what an old one or a young one looks like, but from just my opinion, this was a younger person. And I'm comparing it to a person. More of a person than an animal.
Now, did its facial features, was it more human looking, or did it have a slight muzzle? Did you see anything, or did you
No
it's
muzzle.
hard to remember stuff like that when you're in that such a thing.
No muzzle, wide, flat nose, really thin lips. I remember the area between the nose and the lips was like wider than a person's. And like the eyes, it's like I basically saw black. I didn't see the white of the eyes. I just saw like the darkness of the eyes.
Right.
The brow ridge. But like I've heard people like by me looking on YouTube and people saying the pointed head and all. I didn't have a point.
Yeah, but not all of them have such a pronounced point on top of their head. Some of them it's not there unless they turn sideways. You can kind of see it, and but a lot of times it don't have that pronounced conical shape.
But
regardless.
The forehead kind of sloped back,
Right.
But maybe it was because here was so pronounced. I like I said, I can't. Like I don't know exactly how to explain it, but like the hairline was farther back, but it didn't have a conical shaped head.
Hold on 1 second. Pause. Think about its face, and let me ask you a question. When you say the forehead sloped back, was it the forehead sloped back, or was it the brow ridge stuck out further that made it look like the forehead went back? Did the brow ridge stick out further even in the middle?
Yes.
Was the nose wide and flat?
Wide and flat, very wide and flat, but it looked more like it wasn't like a gorilla's nose. It was more like a wide, flat human nose.
But the nostrils were big.
So the nostrils were down,
like out like this.
Yeah.
Right.
And they look big enough you could have put your thumb in them.
I wouldn't try it.
No, but I'm just saying they look like they were huge for nostrils. They're huge. Got a huge hole.
But yes, and like I told Greg, this was the first time in my life since I was a child that I was literally afraid. I didn't feel like I was on top of the food chain. And like I said, even with 4 guns, 2 people and 4 guns, I felt we was outmatched. And my dad always told me, you don't start a fight that you don't have a chance to win. And I wouldn't. The only way I would have took a shot at it if it came toward us, but it didn't show like any kind of, I wouldn't say aggression, but it did have the look like, if you want it, then you can get it.
So you could tell it was kind of like it was angry. I mean, it went from startled to angry.
Yes, a little bit like, it was like, let's say the schoolyard bully, like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
It had that kind of look on its face until I put my hand on my sidearm, which I told you, Greg, I didn't remember doing that. But as you rehatch everything that went on and you think about it, I that's just a natural reaction for me to put my hand on my sidearm.
Go into that in detail. At that moment, the look it had and its body, the way it was holding itself, the way it was composing itself before you reach for the gun, and whenever you reach for the gun, explain to us in detail, as best you can, please, the change in the way that it was comporting itself before and after. The way that its face looked, the way its body moved.
Okay, when it initially stood up, like it stood up and the look on his face was like shock, like, what are you doing here? But in between that, before I put my hand on my sidearm, he kind of like you suck in air and you want to make yourself look bigger. It was like that. It was like he was like letting us know, like, hey, don't come any further.
Once he knew that you knew, once he knew that you were staring right at him, then he showed his
he puffed up.
Okay.
And like I said, that's when he went through 3 facial expressions, I would say. That's what I told Greg. I wouldn't say this was an animal because I'm looking at this thing and I can tell he is thinking the same way we would be thinking if we bumped into each other in the woods, like, if I wasn't supposed to be there or you weren't supposed to be there on my property, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? And like I said, I remember after the fact, I remember putting my hand on my sidearm. And when I put my hand on my sidearm, he went from the puffed up, like ready for whatever, to the point where let me get the hell out of here. And like I said, he made that pivot and that spin. And like I said, his hand was, when he made the turn, his hand was close to the ground, but I don't think it ever touched the ground. Like I said, it didn't go on all fours or none of that. It was like when he went down through the thick stuff, it was like he was straight up. And it was just so weird, the speed and the power that you looking at. Like, man, it's like it's bothering. It's just a little bothersome to say this, but if it wanted to do something to us, we didn't stand a chance. We didn't have a snowball chance in hell.
Dude, you wouldn't be safe in your own house. It'd tear the damn wall out.
We didn't have a snowball chance in hell. And
Gerald,
then to find out that it was more than one. We didn't see another one, but we heard the sound.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I've never heard that sound in the woods, and I've never heard it since.
It was smart leaving. You did the right thing.
You mean the whoop?
Yes. I had never heard that sound in the woods, and I've never heard it since.
And you said you heard at least 2 other whoops, right?
Yes, from both sides.
So
from my left side first,
you were
and from my right side.
You were surrounded.
But they weren't close. They were, like I said, the closest one I would say was maybe 150 yards.
Gerald, they can so fast.
100 yards. You just saw one turn and take off like a bulldozer through the thick stuff. You think 100 yards is anything?
Yeah, but I'm saying he wasn't as close to what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing, I could have hit it with a rock.
Get one sec, Gerald. Noble. Thank you. Stop doing it every week. I know what you think. You think we're going to buy like a damn Harley Davidson and raffle it off at the meet and greet. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. Appreciate you, brother. You ain't got to keep doing that, but we sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
I don't have an opinion on what it. Well, I don't know exactly. Like I told Greg, from what I've been watching on YouTube, I'm thinking maybe it was a lookout for the others. Maybe it was posted there to look out. I have no idea what it was doing, and I didn't really get a chance to walk over to where it was squatted down, because when they made the sound, hey, it was time to go.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I've never been afraid of anything in the woods. Like I said, I was raised in a household with my father where my father didn't allow you to be afraid. If you was with him and you was afraid, that was an ass whooping. And I'm just being honest. I wasn't allowed to be afraid.
Yeah.
My dad told me that if you're afraid, fear will get you hurt. And I was like, I wasn't allowed to be afraid. But at this point in time, I was afraid. I was very afraid.
It takes a lot for an avid outdoorsman that's 6'7", 300 pounds to have fear. Think about that, y'all.
And I'm sitting here talking to you about it right now, and I'm feeling that same fear in my.
Hey, dude, I'm proud of you coming forward with it like this, because I've had people that were. In Georgia, we got hogs everywhere. I knew guys that I'd carry to the swamp and it wasn't scared of nothing. But first time they seen a booger, he sold his 4-wheeler, sold all his hunting equipment, and then he wouldn't. I tried to talk to him about it. He wouldn't talk about it. I mean, he just shut down, dude. So like you're doing, asking questions, learning more about these things is the right way to go.
Well, I did miss the remainder of turkey season. I didn't go back in the woods during turkey season. I'm just being honest, because I didn't know what I faced. I didn't know what I had seen.
I had a cougar do me the same way, run me out. I didn't hunt that stand no more after that cougar come up to my stand.
And see, I've told Greg about that too. They tell us now. The game wardens will tell you now, here in Montgomery County, surrounding counties, we have no black bear, we have no cougars. I've seen both. Yeah,
but they do that. Listen, I have had DNR guys call me, and because around where I'm at, everybody knows I'm the guy to call with some weird shit. And I've had DNR, I've had people over the Indian mounds call me, I've had sheriff's departments call me, and I talk to them. I mean, because all these people are running into it, but they're not going to tell you the railroad. I had a bunch of friends on the railroad, and they call them haints. But what happens on the railroad stays on the railroad, or they'll fire you. Same thing with DNR. Some guys I know as friends with on DNR, I can talk to them, but publicly or anything like that? He said, hell no, they'll fire me if I talk about it. He said, besides that, well, I got to him. I said, why are y'all hiding what's in these woods? I said, I ain't talking about the boogers. I'm talking about the cougars and other stuff. He said, well, we only get so much money for set aside for these animals. And he said, we ain't got enough money now for the turkeys and the bears and all the shit we got. He said, now you gonna throw some more animals in there? He said, we ain't got enough conservation money for what we got now. And he said, besides that, he said, you start telling people that there's cougars and boogers and shit in there. He said, you're gonna have idiots that's in there trying to kill them and they're gonna get hurt.
Well, I have a friend. Well, he's not a game warden anymore. And I was telling Greg, I asked my friend just the other day, I asked him, I said, did they tell you anything about what I saw? And he was like, we wasn't allowed to talk about it.
Right.
That was the only answer he would give me.
They'll fire him. Hell, that's
he's not even a warden anymore.
But saying that,
we're not allowed to talk about
he still gets probably stuff from the state or wherever he worked at, and they can cut that shit off. You know, you do something bad enough, even after you retire, they can mess with you.
But saying that we're not allowed to talk about that is a way of confirmation. You know what I'm saying? If they come to you and say, hey, you can't talk about this, that's because they know something about it and they don't want you to talk about it. I mean, Gerald, before you go on, because you had something else happen, but before we get to that, some final details on your first thing. Now, I asked you backstage, but just so everybody knows, did you have anything like mind speak or any kind of creepy feels come over you? Anything psychic, supernatural, super spooky dealing with it?
No, like I said, I only saw the equivalent of an animal, or not calling it an animal, like seeing a deer or a fox. That's how I equate the situation. I didn't have any strange feelings, or I just feel like we walked up on something that day that I would say lucky and cursed to see.
Did you get any smells?
No, not at all. Like I said, I've watched so many things on YouTube, and the people saying I smelled nothing, and nothing, no strong odors, none of that.
Gerald, let me ask you this. Bama's got a good question there. How long from the time that you saw it and you realized, well, there's something in the road, till it got out of your sight? If you had to guesstimate seconds, how long would you think that was guessing?
Between 15, 30 seconds.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't just like, hey, I saw something and it's gone. No.
Oh, no. I could tell you it was a male. I saw genitalia. I can describe the whole body. I saw it from head to toe.
Okay.
Did you see its hands?
Yes.
Would you say, did its hands look just like ours? Was the thumb moved back any? Could you tell any kind of difference between human hands?
I would say just like ours, but 3 times the size. And the fingernails were worn probably, but a little bit longer than a man would keep his nails. You know, I can't go by what every man would do, but
sure.
My dad told me the only thing that got fingernails is women and wildcats. So, but it had like short nails. The fingers and everything were like ours, but much bigger.
Well, would you say that everything? Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
I was just going to get another question there. And Gerald, you said that this was a brownish gray.
Yes, it was brown. Okay. It was more dark gray.
Okay.
Like really, really dark gray, but like when the sun hit it, like it had a reddish tinge to the kind of like your beard, Greg.
Look at that. Anyway, let me ask you this: Did this thing look like it was clean or like well kept, groomed?
Yes, it looked like it was clean, like it took care of itself.
Okay.
It only looked matted, like in the back.
Okay.
That's interesting.
See, down there where I'm at is swamp, so a lot of them have got matted up hair. Down there.
It only looked matted in the back, and it was like the chest area was really defined, but around the midsection, oh my God, it's like if you've seen a bodybuilder that before competition, he has the muscle, but he's kind of puffed out.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
Kind of barrel
Yes,
chested, barrel abdomen. Would you say everything on it was proportionate for its size? Did its arms look longer? Like if you imagined it as a person,
Much longer arms.
Much longer arms.
Much longer arms. I'd say it could touch his knees without bending over.
Wow.
And the quads were like huge. Like the calf muscles and the quads to me didn't match.
What do you mean? The quads were way bigger than the calves?
Yes. Yes, it looked like
the quads look like they're about this big around.
Yeah, it looked like a drumstick. Like it started at the huge quads and then it went down to the calves was smaller. I'm not saying they were small, but in no way, shape, or form were they small, but they were much smaller than the quads.
Mm-hmm. And what about the difference between the forearms and the biceps? Were the forearms bigger?
Yes,
were they smaller?
They were bigger and much longer than the bicep. The bicep looked shorter than the forearm.
There we go. Okay.
Well, that's you motivate around on all fours. Your forearms and your thighs are gonna get there.
Well, like I said, it didn't show any signs of going down on all fours.
Yeah, but I'm saying
they got close to touching the ground.
They got
close to touching the ground with one hand.
Yeah, and you said, Gerald, you was less than 50 yards?
Less, yes.
And you saw it from the back also whenever it turned to go through, right?
I saw it from the beginning, from the side. When it stood up, it was facing us, and then I saw it from the back when it ran.
How thick was it from a side profile? I mean, at the chest, at the chest, how thick do you think it was?
2.5, 3 feet, maybe better.
Damn.
Thick as a gun.
Maybe better.
When you saw the back of it, was its back flat or like between the shoulders? Did it have a hump where it was like the musculature running down the spine?
Like where the hair was on his back, it kind of looked like the back and the shoulders were more pronounced than the lower back. But like I said, it's hard, like it's leaning back like this, but it's not trying to. It's not trying to. It's like if you stand straight up and you will have like an indentation in your back, like
yeah,
that's what it looked like.
So the shoulders, in between the shoulders, had more muscle definition going down, and then it tapered in.
Yes, it's like I'm not trying to be funny, but it's like you take a guy with a belly and he's standing there and he's standing up and he's leaning back, but he didn't have the big round belly. It was like you could see it, but it's like it was kind of hollowed out in his lower back, but not much.
Right.
But it wasn't as wide as the shoulder area across. It was different. It was like,
how wide do you think its shoulders were?
From the front?
Sure. From it looking at you, how wide do you think its shoulders were?
4.5 feet easy.
Holy.
Easy.
That's a big creature.
And like I said, I'm a big guy. And I'm not trying to claim anything, but I'm a big fella. And you know, people have been just intimidated by me standing next to them. And you know, people will say things to me, but by me seeing this, like I said, I felt small. I felt like a child compared to what I saw.
That's the only time that's happened in your life, ain't it?
Other than my dad, yeah, other than my dad.
Oh, your dad's big. Your dad's a big guy too.
Well, I outgrew him once at 15, but yeah, he was always a big guy to me, you know. But other than my basketball friends, that looking up, but my friends, all the friends I got that are 7 feet tall, they don't carry that much mass. They're not that wide and that big. And like people say, I've stood next to Shaquille O'Neal. I was in the same basketball camp as Shaquille O'Neal. And everybody talks about they don't compare. It's not even close.
You're saying what you saw in Shaquille O'Neal compare.
They don't compare. What I saw was much bigger than Shaquille O'Neal. They don't compare. So I just want everybody to something that somebody can judge, seeing.
Right.
They don't compare.
Yeah, Shaquille comes up there where I live pretty regular, and he's got a car, and he's taking the front seat out or moved it to the rear. And when he's at the red light, you pull up next to him, he'll wave at you through like the back of the window, But the boogers couldn't even fit in that damn car. The car he's sitting in the back seat driving, but a booger couldn't even get in that damn car. Not a good sized booger. I mean, so it ain't no comparison.
Well, like I said, I saw this. I saw a question come across the screen, and he was asking, "How did it change me?" Well, it changed how I go in the woods. It changed how I pay attention in the woods. Like I said, I pay attention to everything. The slightest little sound, I pay attention to everything. Yeah. When I go in and out of the woods, my head is always on swivel. I pay attention to it. That's one thing that changed. Like I always hunted with smaller rifles. I never used to carry a big rifle. Now I have really large rifles. I put it that way.
And you seen one of the least scariest cryptids. There's other shit out there a lot worse than that. Now that you've seen that Bigfoot boogers are real, it opens the door that possibilities for that other shit. But I can tell you personally that other shit's out there too.
Like guys nowadays, everybody's talking about a 6.5 Creedmoor. I wouldn't dare.
Oh no,
no.
I've got two,
and I wouldn't.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was telling Greg, if it came down to it, the only option that came toward me, the only option I had was to fire in this area.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling Greg. That was the only thing I could think about. That was the only option that I could think about.
Yeah, I mean, really, you having that shotgun with those turkey loads in it, that would have been your best thing, would have been trying to put its eyes out.
That was the only option that but I forgot I had the shotgun, Greg.
But let's keep in mind, like we say all the time, he also heard 2 other wolves coming from opposite directions. You get a shot off, and I mean, that's just as likely to be your demise as anything else.
Yeah, because the audience is going to come fast and hard, and they're going to come for blood.
Hey, Gerald, we got a lot of questions coming in now about how it affected you. Have you hunted since? Before we go to all those questions, because you can address it by talking about what happened later because you had something else happen. Can you kind of go through how much longer it was and where you went and what happened next, please?
Well, this was what happened to me happened in 2014. And in 2017, I was hunting with one of my buddies, deputy sheriff, and it was a property that he had. It's in Wall, Alabama. It's a part of Montgomery County. And we were going into the property, and we was walking along a creek. And like I said, he put his hand on me, and he said, "Listen." And I was like, "What you mean? What you talking about? I don't hear nothing." He said, "That's the point. You don't hear anything." And as we were walking along, we saw footprints along the creek bed. And like I said, they were so fresh that a couple of them, water was still like leaking into the tracks. So that's why I saw the question come across. Yes, I've hunted since, but I'm not going to, like I said, I was coming from my father, I'm not going to let, I was afraid in the beginning, but I'm not going to let anything run me out of what I love doing. I'm a hunter. I've always been a hunter, and I'm going to continue to hunt. I just have to take different precautions on what's going on or when I'm in the woods.
Right.
But my friend was like, he took a video, some pictures and a video of it. But since then, we know we're not friends or whatever anymore. There's some things happen between us that, you know, we don't communicate anymore. But like I said, and the guy that was with me during my initial sighting, I can't get him to talk about it. Period. He doesn't hunt anymore. Period.
So it, do you think that encounter then, I mean, it messed with him mentally to the point where he doesn't hunt, doesn't want to talk about it, don't want to have nothing to do with it?
Very, very much so. If he was sitting beside me right now and we wasn't on here and I say something to him about it, he wouldn't. He changed the subject. He started talking about motorcycles or something. He changed the subject. He wouldn't talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. And he hasn't been in the woods since 2014.
Yeah, some people it really messes them up.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. The people that's never experienced this, like what you have, what I have, they don't understand what it takes to talk yourself to go back in those woods. Just like the guy your buddy that was with you, not going back. I understand that. I understand on a level because I know how frightening it is, how startling it is. And I've been that guy where I'd go home like, I'm not going back. I'm going to die. That thing's going to kill me. Something's going to happen. Is it really worth it? And then I'd stew on it. It may be a day. It may be a week. It may be 2 weeks. But for me, the inner redneck would boil up, and I'd go, well, the damn thing ain't going to run me off. It didn't get me that time, and I would do just like what you're talking about. I'd grab another box of shells. I'd throw another speed loader for my 357 Magnum, a few more shells for it, bigger flashlight. I'd go in the woods a little later in the morning. I'd come out a little earlier before dark. And you know, and I kept working through it. Well, then I'd have something else happen. I'd like, you know, is this really worth it? And I just kept having to coach myself into going back. And I'm telling you, it'll try your braveness. I don't know if there's a fine line between bravery and stupidity for me on my part, because I just kept having stuff happen. But brother, I'm telling you, anybody that has an up close encounter with these things, when you realize, like Troy said, that monsters are real and these things are out there, it's a damn big hurdle to jump over to be able to go back in the woods.
The only thing about it, I can't call it a monster because it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't show me any.
Yeah.
Well, a myth became real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a big difference though between going into like a lot of us people that are watching this show, a lot of the people that we know, we go in and we actively look for these things. Now, I'm not saying that gives us a huge advantage, but we're looking for them. We're trying to find them. There's a huge difference between that and somebody that really doesn't think that these things even exist and goes in and just happens to see one like what he did. And your friend, I mean, that'd be traumatizing to the highest degree. You know what I'm saying?
It took some time, and it's still like it weighs on me. Like I fell 35 feet on a tree stand in 2011, fractured my neck, fractured my leg, and I kind of equate that to the.
Was it a tree lounge? Those things are death traps.
Nah, it was an old man, and it was operator error. But I kind of equate that to me. The first time I went back to climb,
right?
It took me a second. I got about 5 feet off the ground, and I probably sat there 20 minutes.
Right.
Until I got my bearings, and I was like, you can do this. You know, just going back to what my dad said, you can't be afraid. You just can't be afraid. And since then, I climbed ever since. But it took more time for me to, like I said, I missed the remainder of turkey season. I didn't go back in the woods during turkey season, and then I really didn't hunt during bow season because I didn't feel like I could take enough into the woods.
Just a bow.
Yeah, to protect myself.
Yeah.
So when rifle season came around, you know, I didn't really tell you, but I'm the type of person, I don't want to hunt 50 or 100 yards from the nearest road or house. I want to get as far away from anything and everything that I can. I got friends that I hunt with, and they told me an area of their property, oh, we don't hunt over there, it's spooky. Well, that's why I want to go. Because that's why I have the most success, where nobody else wants to go.
Sure.
You're a glutton for punishment, like we are.
Pretty much. So it took a while for me to venture out as far as I would. I would when I first started back doing rifle season, I would go maybe to a ladder stand or sit on the green field, but I wouldn't go as far in the woods as I normally would. It took some time, but like now, you know, everything is okay. And I wanted to get to the point where on my property, you know, I've never really had a problem on my own property, but my friend had a problem on my property. One of my buddies, and like I said, I would rather him tell the story, but I would kind of, you know, touch on it for you. He was sitting in a stand. He was sitting close to the bedding area on the very back end of my property, closest to the river. And he said he heard something, you know, right at dusk walking in. You know, he said he thought it was maybe a buck coming in because, you know, it was doing a rut, and he's sprayed everything and got everything set up for a buck. And so he said he grunted at it. And he said when he grunted, it stopped. And he said that he sat there until it got too dark for him to see. And he said that he didn't hear it walk off. He didn't hear it move again. So he said he stood up in the stand, he whistled, he made noise or whatever. You know, if it was a deer, it'll run off.
Yeah.
And he said when he got down, he heard it walk up to like maybe 10 yards behind him while he was putting the stand together. And he said he had on his headlight. He turned around. Like I said, I would much rather him tell you, but I'm just gonna share what he told me. He said he turned around and he didn't see anything. And he said, you know, he quickly put his stand together, put it on his back, and he laid his rifle across his arm, and he started walking out of the woods. And he said every step he took, whatever it was taking the same amount of steps. When he stopped, it stopped. He said it got to the point where he got so nervous that he started to jog. And he said when he picked up the pace, it picked up the pace to the point where he broke into a full sprint, and it was still sprinting right along behind him. And he said by the time that he made it to the big woods, where, you know, where it's mostly trees, not a lot of underbrush, he said he felt like it was, if he would have reached back, he could have touched what was behind him. But he said he never saw it.
Mm-mm.
And see, I've never had any problem on my property. And when he told me that, and he's one of the people that I told what happened to me, and he didn't believe me. And he told me after that, he said he never doubted what I told him in the woods.
Hey, I'm going to give you a tidbit of information to use, whether you're on your property or somebody else's. One of the things when somebody calls me in to look at some stuff, I look for, normally if you're hunting squirrels will be anywhere from 20 to 40 feet from the ground, their nest normally. But if you get in an area that's devoid, and there's acorns and there's devoid of squirrel nest, or the squirrel nest are in the tippy tops of the trees where the hawks and owls come, you not need to be looking out because something's getting them. Usually squirrels are like caviar to them things. They love squirrels. So if you get in an area and it's full of squirrel nests, you probably ain't going to have many boogers in there. But if you get in there, like I said, there's no squirrel nest, or either the squirrel nest or in the very tops of the trees, you need to be looking out because something's in there getting them.
Okay, I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah, That's one of the things. If I went to a new place to hog hunt or something, that's one of the things I look for is where the squirrel nests are at. If they're in a normal place and there's plenty of squirrels and there's acorns all around, I ain't worried about some cryptids in there. But if I go in there and there's acorns everywhere and there is no gray squirrels anywhere, and if I do find a nest, it's in the very top of a tree, then my eyes are on a swivel because there's activity in there.
That's funny that you say that. I would have not have thought about putting that together, Troy. That's
I've been doing this since I was 5 years old, Spencer. I didn't have the fear factor that most 99% of people have. I was introduced to these things at 5 years old, and I knew them as the creek people. They lived down there on the creek. I didn't know they wasn't supposed to be there.
Do you think
I never had that walk up and scare the hell out of you thing with boogers anyway? Now I've had it happen with dogmen and shit, but I've never had it happen with booger.
Troy, since you're on here, the part that Gerald said about he and his friend walking in and finding the tracks. First of all, Gerald, how big were the tracks beside the creek? But also, Troy, will you go back and touch on the booger walking right beside the creek and what they do to possibly conceal their tracks and everything? But Gerald,
that's kind of the concealment of the tracks. That's something ingrained.
Okay, you go first then.
I'm sorry.
Gerald.
I ain't messing with Gerald. He's a big old guy. I ain't messing with him.
What are you talking about? He's talking about.
I'm a good fella.
Gerald's talking about going in the woods 2 miles to deer hunt, and it's because he could probably pick up a 150-pound buck and just tuck it under one arm and walk out without breaking a sweat. Gerald, how big were the tracks? How many did you see? How far in between the tracks?
Well, we only saw probably about 5 or 6.
Well,
and
that's pretty good.
I wear a 14, 15 boot. And I could put my boot, we didn't measure them. We didn't have anything to measure them with. I could put my boot inside of the track, and it probably was like 2, maybe 3 inches longer than my boot.
And how wide?
Probably or 1.5 inches or so wider than my boot.
Okay.
But
how long is your foot?
Well, I wear a 14, 15, depends on the shoe. So
what is
I
that?
would say 14, 15
About
inches.
18.
Probably 18.
You think so with a boot on?
If it was
I think more with a boot.
But yeah, my boot, probably when I actually put my boot into one of the tracks. And my boot and from the tip of my boot, it was probably 2 to 3 inches more than my boot long, and probably, like I said, 1.5 inches wider. And like I said, my buddy, he took a video and pictures of the tracks.
So we're thinking at least 18 inches wide then, or long?
Yes.
At least 18 inches long. How far in between the tracks? Just a guesstimate.
Farther than I can step. I would say 4.5, maybe 5 feet, maybe.
Damn.
Like if I tried to do it, I would have to basically take a little hop. And
Troy.
Yes, sir.
Why do they walk right beside creeks? He saw 4 or 5 tracks. I mean, that's a lot to just see out in the open.
Well, a lot of times, you might be on some, people don't like some of these places you go and nobody's harassed the boogers or mess with them. So they ain't real weary of people coming in there so much because ain't nobody really know they were there, so they're not as, if they've been messed, say you go in their area and do calls or somebody's in there a lot or the boogers have been shot at, they're not going to leave them prints out as easily. They're not as comfortable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But in the area, nobody hunts or like he's talking about, like I used to do is go way back. I'd go back in the woods where a sane person shouldn't go. I'd go 2 miles back in the woods, and that's after driving 6 or 7 miles through a forest to get where I was going. Ludicrous, crazy. I wouldn't do it now. But when I was younger, I didn't have no fear of nothing, and I did a lot of stupid risk. But you get in an area back like that, you might find prints and a lot more signs because nobody's ever in there and they ain't had to hide or conceal themselves as much. But you get near an area where there's people, the tracks and the signs and all that is not going to be as prevalent because they're protecting themselves.
And see where we saw the tracks at, nobody hunts there.
Yeah.
Nobody hunts there at all. And we, as far as us going there, that was the first day we'd been in there.
How far back was it? Whenever you found the tracks, how far back in there were you?
The property is off of Interstate 65, not 65, 85. Interstate 85. You could actually hear the cars from the interstate where we are. But as far as the way that we go in, let's say it's probably less than a mile from the interstate, but the way that we go in, you probably have to go in on a dirt road and a mile and maybe walk half a mile.
So, but you're back in there, and you said nobody goes in there, and that was your first time going in there, right?
No, nobody hunts there. I don't think anybody hunts there now.
Okay. I mean,
that's where you go look for the good animals, the bucks and all that, because they're not going to be where all the people are. You got to get back in there where they're at.
Yes, sir.
And House, just so everybody, a lot of people that watch our show, we know we've been covering Alabama for 2 years now. Can you describe like where Gerald is at in Alabama in correlation to like everybody else that they will know? Where's this area at?
I mean,
I live right in the heart of Montgomery, Alabama. I'm 5 minutes away from downtown, but my property is in Montgomery County. It's right at the edge of the county. If you go to the Alabama River Toll Road, my property is right off of the Alabama River Toll Road in Montgomery County.
Don't put that all over YouTube, Gerald. What's wrong with you?
Oh, they couldn't find it if they tried.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't gonna nail it down that tight.
They couldn't find it if they tried.
But guys, I mean, really, everybody on here that knows Flat Rock, knows Mark Green. I mean, he's gonna be in between Mark Green and Flat Rock.
Yeah, down there, where Troy's at, right? You down in Montgomery, you said? Troy, south of y'all on 231. Or, Troy, Alabama. The swamps between Montgomery and Troy, that's a good place to run into them.
I hunt some of that area too in Matthews, Alabama.
And there's also not just boogers in there, there's dog men down that way too.
Well, I saw the story. I saw the stories on YouTube about that, but I hope I never ever see anything like that. I don't want to see another what I saw. I don't want to see that again. I just want to learn.
Yeah, Kumbo did a dog man report down there near Troy. He did a report, and then I had some family that lived down that way. They ain't got no shortage of them down there in the swamps.
Yeah, bring Troy Allen on one show, and it has to go from boogers to dog man. Here we go. Don't even start.
Do you think having hogs on your property has?
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was going to tell you. If you got hogs, there's a good possibility boogers are coming in there pretty regular. Over there, Georgia, we ain't got no shortage of pigs. You want some, come get them. We've got so many that they destroying the farmland. They, running the deer off. But anywhere you've got a higher population of pigs, you usually going to have higher population of some sort of cryptid in there feeding off of them. It's just like chicken houses. That's another thing. If you're in an area got a bunch of damn chicken houses, you're going to have some predators. You're going to have quite a few predators.
Ooh, and the place that I hunt, well, he said, no, I don't think I should say that where it is. It's got a lot of chicken houses too.
What worst places to get your ass in a pickle or in trouble is behind county dumps. That's one of the places I try to avoid is near dumps, trash places. Because if you're going to have boogers in an area, a lot of times you want to check near a city or county dump.
And my property that I was saying I never had a problem on my property, the dump is maybe the city dump is maybe a mile, 2 miles.
Oh,
Boy, you better check your property. You better check your property. You better check your
What he was wait, do you have water going through your property?
Yes,
How close is the nearest water?
It's 2 creeks on my property, and it's less than a mile from the river.
Dude, if you ain't got them there regular, you got them coming through there.
Hey, what he was saying about the chicken houses, and I tell y'all, I've seen some of this firsthand. It made a believer out of me. But the chicken houses down there in Georgia and Alabama, and in the bottom part of Tennessee, Troy's telling the truth right there. If you got chicken houses within whatever 5 miles of you, that's a good. Chicken houses are a good indication. The dump, like he said,
the area where I told you my friend said is spooky, where they didn't want to hunt, it's behind chicken houses.
There's a
get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah,
Sam out here take my place for a minute.
Well, my brother said
I'm probably, Gerald, I'm probably about 1.5 miles or so from our dump too. And I got stuff that goes on around my house. And
What?
Hey,
Gerald, do you know Kumbo Baker?
I know that I've heard of the legend.
The legend. Kumbo, what are you doing? What are you doing? Did you stop by to see Troy?
Yeah.
Who rudely inserted himself into our show unannounced?
I'll be glad that I'm here. I tried my wife and it's probably my fault too, walking through the house in the dark. But I tripped over a metal dog cage, hit a door frame with my face, and my shoulder landed on the damn cement slab. And now I got a bum wing over here. I'm waiting to see if something's broke. So lucky I'm here. I'm lucky I didn't break my damn neck.
And I bet you got to
cut the lights on before you run to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Don't go through there in the dark.
On top of that, he ruined a good dog cage. He busted his door frame, and the damn slab's got a crack in it now.
Yes, that's most likely. Did you get moved into your new house, Kumbo?
I'm about a third of the way there. Yeah. Yeah. So
Gerald's down there, or been at Montgomery down there towards where you did the dog man sighting that time. Down there by Troy.
Yeah, y'all keep the dog man to yourselves.
I know. I know.
Where you at down there, roughly? You don't have to tell me real close, just roughly.
Like close to the Alabama River Parkway.
Oh, when I was in college, I had a good buddy of mine was getting a degree in wildlife management or something. He's wanting to be a game warden, and his senior project was he had to do a study of the alligator population within the city limits on the Alabama River, within the city limits of Montgomery. And he needed somebody to run the boat for him while he tagged the alligators. And so I volunteered to do that. He, like I said, a good friend of mine. Anyway, first thing that I was amazed at was that I thought I could spot an alligator, but he was finding them. I mean, I never would even see them. And he was spotting them. Oh, yonder's one, go over, and I'd look over and he'd tell me, turn here. And I'd turn, sure enough. And then I'd see the dadgum thing. But right there in the city limits of Montgomery, we tagged one that was a little bit over 14 feet long, like maybe 14.
Holy cow.
Like that. Yeah. That thing was a monster. And it had been, there was a apartment complex that was right there near the river, and the people had been reporting the alligator coming up and nabbing cats and dogs and stuff like that, and it scared several kids.
Ugh.
We found the skid on the bank. You being from down there, you know what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
This skid was over 3 feet wide, close to approaching 4 feet wide.
They're like people don't believe we have a lot of alligators either, but if you fish any slough or any pond that's out of the way, you're gonna see an alligator.
Yeah, we had where I'm at. We had to get them out of the roads. They've had to take the fire truck and blow them out the interstate. I mean, there ain't no doubt where we at. We got gators because you have to watch out for them. There's been people killed on the roads around there. Imagine hitting a damn alligator running 55 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I just saw a question that something else that I told Greg. They said something about Macon County. I also hunted Macon County as well, and
okay,
I shot a small buck in Macon County. I told Greg this story. Wasn't thinking about a booger or a Bigfoot or whatever you want to call it. I center punched this deer with a 300 Magnum. Saw the blood skeet out of this deer on impact. He hopped a little creek and ran into the thicket. I heard this deer crash. Right. And my buddy that was with me, the same buddy that I was telling you about that used to be the deputy sheriff. He was like, "Where did you shoot?" I said, "I shot a small buck."
Yeah.
And he said, "You want to get down?" I said, "No, it's 7:45." I said, "You got time to maybe get you something as well. So let's sit until about 10." And we sit until about, let's say, maybe 10:30. And I saw him coming through the woods. I saw his orange, so I climbed down. And I'm looking at the blood trail. The blood trail is 2 feet wide. Yep. I know this deer is dead.
Double
I heard it crash.
Yeah.
So right in the thicket where it went through, you had to bend over, almost crawl to get through. Once you get through the initial part of it, you can stand back up. Mm-hmm. Well, about 20 yards into the thicket, I found where the deer was laying. Big puddle of blood.
Right.
You see the indentation where the deer was laying.
And the deer was gone.
Mm-hmm.
No drag marks. No blood where it got up and walked away. Nothing. Mm-hmm. And my buddy said, "You think the neighbor got it?" If the neighbor got it, then I would have heard him. Ain't no way he could have walked in here, picked this deer up, or dragged this deer without me hearing him. And Greg had told me several times about he had deer taken from him. So, like
I've had that happen.
A lot of this stuff is like weird to me, and it's like how and why. But just by me seeing what I saw, I can understand. But another thing I don't understand: how could something be that big and move that quietly through the woods?
Well, we had I can't remember if you were there with us or not. Hey, we had one walk across a dadgum gravel road right in front of us in the dark. And you couldn't see, it was too dark to see anything with the naked eye. But there was like three or four of us had thermals going. This thing was less than 30 feet from us, walked across a gravel road in front of us, and we couldn't even look at the ground without crunching gravel.
That was Jimmy and him because I was on the phone with you at the time. Y'all called me on the phone.
This thing walked across the road in front of us and gravel road and never made a sound.
And that's something I can't understand.
Yeah.
And as stealthy as I can try to be, I can take my boots off and try to walk, and I can hear myself loud and clear walking in the woods.
Bear, if you've ever been around bear in the woods, though, I've seen bear running down a hill at a 35-degree incline, running in fall. You don't hear them from 40, 50 yards away. I mean, I don't know if it's pads on the foot or if it's something that's one of those extra skills that they can do. I don't know. Now, what he's talking about right there, where it crosses 30-some feet or yards in front of them and they don't hear anything. I don't know. Kumbo, what do you think? Is it physically possible?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they do it. I've got some ideas, but I don't want to say them.
I even like down where I live, we got probably the highest population in Georgia, black bears. And you're right, they're quiet when they're going through the woods or when they're going through that swamp and big old padded feet. Man, they can get right up on you without you knowing.
Yeah.
Don't stand up, you'll hit the fan.
Oh,
6'7".
I'm not that close.
I'll tell you what, Spencer, put it in your notes. We got to get Gerald a decent shirt.
Oh, no, you can't.
And
I know you're not talking. I know you're not talking about one of those shirts.
I got
you're not talking about one of those shirts.
That blue and orange shirts I'll donate to the
hey, and I think he's big enough. He might fit in that Bigfoot costume at LBL.
If
I
Slay,
know you're not. I know you're not talking about one of those shirts that lost to Cal yesterday.
if Slay Monk was here, Slay would say "Roll Tide." That's all I've got to insert on the conversation.
So,
Yeah, I don't think I want one of those shirts that lost to Cal yesterday.
well,
Yeah.
I didn't even watch it. I didn't even know who they were playing.
Yeah, maybe if I need to wash my truck or something, then I'll take one. But
Yeah. Oh, now you don't have to get mean now.
no, sir, no, sir.
Hey.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Well,
Yeah,
sure.
man.
You asked me what did I think it was. What do you think it? What do you guys think it is?
Cool.
That got your deer?
No, what do you think it is?
Oh,
What
what
do you
they
think a
are?
booger is?
I think they're a direct descendant of Nephilim.
I got to check on ribs. I'll be back in 1 sec.
I think that they are.
They have some Nephilim genes in them.
Yeah,
because some of the stuff that they can do are supernatural. What we would consider supernatural.
Right.
I mean, jump out of a tree at 40 or 50 feet, hit the ground running. Well, I live around bears all the time. A big bear boar jump out of a tree that high and hit the damn ground. They're gonna break his legs.
Right.
You know, but these things can do it. And I mean, hit the ground running. And these things, I have seen them do some stuff. It's just not. And our physics, it's just not possible.
I've seen them go through thickets that you like what you said. You couldn't. It'd take you 30 minutes to make 15, 20 feet, and then you'd be all scratched up. And I've seen them blow through them at 25, 30 miles an hour like it's not even there. And I don't know. I've seen them do it and not rustle a leaf, but I've also seen them do it where they were leaving a trail like the velociraptors in the first Jurassic Park movie where they were attacking the people out in that big field when they were running through there. I saw one come across some cutover one day or one evening where the pines and the briars and the saplings and all were up about, I don't know, 10, 11 feet tall. And this thing came through there at least 25 to 30 miles an hour for over a half a mile that we could see it, leaving a trail, a wake through that dadgum thing.
If I had been brave enough at that point in time to go back.
Do what now?
If I had been brave enough at the point in time to go back to maybe take some pictures of where it went through, I could see where it went through. Just like I told Greg, like if I rode my four-wheeler through where it went through, it left the same type of trail. Like it knocked down everything in front of it until it made it to the wood line. And when it made it to the wood line, it went up the incline and didn't break speed. It was still moving at the same speed. It didn't never break speed. No matter what was in front of it, it didn't break speed.
Yeah. Well, the thing I saw, a lot of people have heard me talk about this, but when I first heard about, saw hard evidence of a dog man, it was right off Highway 29 between Troy and Union Springs. And this thing went up a 13-foot dirt, almost vertical dirt embankment. I found a track at the very bottom of the embankment. I found one about halfway up and one about a foot short of the top. And he just went straight up it. And, human couldn't do that, couldn't go up it even with a running start. And I don't know how the thing did it. And then what's crazy?
Y'all make me nervous talking about this dog man stuff.
Yeah, the next track over the top of the thing was a good 8-10 feet or better, horizontally, and after it crested out, which I can't figure out the physics on that. But that was when I first realized that there really were dogmen out there, that they really existed. This is back in 1984.
So as far as me seeing what I saw, all of you have seen what I saw.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jeff Spencer.
Not me.
Not like you guys face to face. No.
I've seen flashes of stuff, not not a good look at it like what you had.
Now Spencer's got some good thermal video of 3 of them on my farm.
I don't count the thermal. I've got 3 or 4 thermals that a lot of people have seen, and they say it's the real deal. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But kind of like you, would you believe it if you just saw a video from somebody else that was just a thermal image? I mean, versus what you saw with your own eyes 30-some yards away, Gerald? That's a big difference, you know?
Yeah, but see, I'm listening to you guys. You guys are seeking it out, and I'm trying to stay as far away from it as I can.
Stay out of the woods.
You're hunting prime hunting areas, and it's got the prime hunting areas have got water and got a population of hogs or either a good population of deer. You're actually unconsciously hunting these things because you're going in the same area he's at. If you're a good hunter and you know where the animals are, he's a good hunter too. He knows where they're at too, and
that's right. The prime hunting areas are prime hunting areas. They're hunting too.
But it's like I said in the beginning, like when I'm in the woods, I'm not trying to shoot up the woods, or some days I go in the woods and I just sit and I just watch. I just sit and watch deer. A lot of days I do that. Yeah, it's a lot of bucks that I wanted to shoot that I let pass, and just thinking about what you guys said, maybe that is one of the reasons that I actually saw what I saw.
Yeah.
So,
well, let me tell you this: if you can sit there and watch those deer without them sensing it and running off, then you understand what I call the zen of hunting, which is you have to. Some folks do it naturally, but me, I get in there, and when I get on my stand or when I'm walking to my stand, I consciously think to sort of suck in, I don't know if you call it my aura or whatever.
Yes.
I consciously think about not projecting a predator's instinct, not projecting myself as a predator in the woods.
I put myself in a meditative zone.
Right. That's sort of what
I was told when I was younger to not stare directly at them.
Right. Well,
any animal that you're hunting, if you're not about to shoot, don't stare directly at it. You can glance at it, but don't stare directly at it.
Correct. Yeah.
But what we're talking about right there, though, that's a big point.
Yeah.
Even though this is kind of off topic on the show, but think about what you're saying right there. Anybody that has hunted a lot has gotten to the point, especially with big bucks and especially during the rut, whenever they are hypersensitive. I swear, if you project too much intention, that killer intent, I've had it happen several times where they look right at you. They feel it, they know, they sense you. The same thing that we were talking about earlier, Gerald, like, okay, you can believe that these things are flesh and blood, and I think that they are, but I think they have extra abilities, whatever. Some way, somehow, they can give off enough juice, enough mojo, that a lot of people feel it and can tune into it, whether you want to or not. And also, something else, while they were talking, what's the closest Indian burial mounds to you, to your property, or where you were hunting whenever you saw them, either or both times?
Well, where we saw them, well, I ain't gonna say them, where we saw it, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea, because like I said, that was my first and last day on that property. Haven't been back to that property. But on my property, there are like a couple of old graveyards that's been overgrown, like graves from the 1800s, and they are actually on my property. Like, we found them, scouting. Right. I never really go in the bedding area. I try not to go in the bedding area, but we found them scouting like old graves, and I don't know. But I think that most of them are black people. But I don't know if they're Indians or not. But I think most of the graves are black people, from people that owned the land before my uncle did. So, but there are several graves, very old headstones, like I said, from the 1800s. So that helps. That's as much as I got. Like I said, I'm listening to you guys.
Well,
I'm more fascinated with you guys than you are with what I saw, because I want to know, but at the same time, I don't want to know. And as far as the thing you were talking about a dog man, I never want to know.
No. Join
I
the club.
didn't want to know about them either once I found out they were real. And somehow I managed to keep from seeing them until about 2 years ago. And I saw my first one, and I don't want to see any more of them. And, but anyway, your place ain't anywhere near G's Bend, is it?
No, G's Bend, I fished there. That's in, that's like, G's Bend is like an hour and a half away from me.
There's a lot of them around there.
Yeah, I fish at G's Bend. Greg, the last picture that I posted on social media by the bridge, that was G's Bend.
Really?
Okay, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
So it looks like I'm in all the places I shouldn't be.
all I can tell you, brother, you just need right now, you need to start making plans for this October 4th, 5th, and 6th. We're gonna talk.
I really want to meet you guys in person, because
Yes, sir.
I want to hear and see and understand what other people have seen, because like I said,
I can help him. I can tell him some more things about what he needs to look for.
Yeah,
people didn't believe me at first, because like I said, when I first saw what I saw, it took a minute for me to talk.
Gerald,
anybody.
Spencer, do you have Gerald's contact information?
I got it.
Okay, you got it.
There you go.
Yeah, it took a while for me to talk to anybody.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It took a while for me to talk to anybody. Even Greg, it took a while for me to talk to Greg about it. But
Gerald, I was telling these guys that, I really didn't know anything about your Bigfoot encounter, and I already knew you for a while.
Yeah.
We never talked about it.
But I wouldn't. That's not something I want to call. People would laugh, and I don't want to.
It's funny how that works, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
you come off as being a bully and try to force some on somebody, because, like I said, I'm already a big person, and then by talking to these people, and then you not believing me, and I don't want to get angry with you about nothing, and you think I'm lying, and I'm telling you my truth of what I saw. Right. I'm not trying to make you believe it. I'm just letting you know what I saw.
Yeah. Well, I was telling Spencer and Misty and them that kind of the way that I even found out about that you had an encounter was, that somebody had posted on the web page or the Facebook page that been you, the hunting page, that some guy had posted about. I can't remember if it was he had saw something or if he heard all these noises, and he said, it was like lining up that he thought it was a Bigfoot or something. And then I was looking at people commenting, I'm thinking, man, everybody's dogging this guy.
And I told him, and I said, the only people that talking trash are the people that hunt 50 yards from the nearest road and have never done anything. You've never seen anything. You ain't went far enough in the woods to see anything to discredit what this man is saying, because it kind of hit home with me, because people didn't believe what I was saying. Mm-hmm. And I'm listening to I'm reading what this man is saying, and like, how you gonna tell this man what he didn't see? Yeah. And you go and you hunt in the woods right behind your house.
Yeah.
Henry, we want to hear about that, Henry, please.
Well, the thing about it was, I saw Gerald's comment. Gerald had an awesome comment, and that's what he was telling these folks is, y'all need to leave this man alone, because there's stuff in the woods, and just, basically kind of like, just because y'all ain't seen it don't mean it ain't there. And I'm reading Gerald's comment, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm messaging Gerald private message like, what do you know? Look, and he's like, I've seen one. I said, well, I've dealt with them for years.
We've been focusing on Alabama for the better part of 2 years now. And it's because Alabama is the boogeriest place I've ever seen. Now, Kumbo can go into detail about like Missouri and Mississippi and all these other places where they're probably, I don't know, Kumbo, are they just as prevalent in other places as they are in Alabama?
Yeah, they're Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana are eat up with them just as bad as Alabama.
Yeah, Tennessee's got them.
Tennessee is eat up with them. Kentucky is eat up with them. Arkansas. They're all over, and they're places you wouldn't believe. In fact, I used to think that the only ones in Nebraska were I knew there was some way out in the extreme northwest corner in an isolated area, and I knew that there were some in the southeast corner, out southeast of Lincoln along the Missouri River. But I took a trip up there, rode my motorcycle up through there, and rode through the northern tier of counties just south of South Dakota. And I stopped some places and talked to some folks and stuff, and I couldn't believe the booger country that's in southern South Dakota and northern Nebraska, all the way across the whole length of the state. That just blew my mind. And I mean, there are pockets of them all over the place, but just general all over the state, man. Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, South Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina. I mean, there's gobs over there. You'd be surprised how many are in Ohio and Indiana and Illinois.
Hey, Kumbo, real quick. Sorry. Sorry, Gerald. I have to ask this.
Oh, no problem.
Because we did a show the other day, and somebody brought up something about what you were talking about, and I think Greg and I both were trying to fill in details. Do you remember the story that you told? Well, the experience that you told about a guy that hired a guide and took him out, and they were bear hunting.
Got his head sniped.
Mule deer hunting.
Can you tell that story real quick? Because I might have gotten the details wrong.
All right. A guy was wanting to go mule deer hunting out in Colorado. And it was in the, I can't remember if that's the Rio Grande National Forest or the I can't remember the name of the other national forest out there. But anyway, it's it's out west of Alamosa, Colorado, and over in Archuleta County is where it was. And he hired this kid that turned out later on. I was wondering if we had such a hard time tracking down. The kid had hired himself out as a guide, had presented himself as a guide, but he didn't have an actual guide's license.
Right.
And anyway, so he took this guy out hunting. The kid was only like 21 years old or something like that, 21 years old. And I'm not saying that his age had anything to do with him being not a good guide. I mean, he might have been perfectly good. I don't know. In fact, I think he was pretty good because he had the guy on to some stuff. But anyway, out there in those mountains, a lot of times when they log them, they checkerboard them. They'll log off like a 40-acre square on the side of the mountain, or sometimes maybe an 80-acre or something rectangle. But anyway, they came out to this place where it was on the east-facing slope of the mountain, and it was a 40-acre square that had been logged off, and they came driving into that would have been the southeast corner of this 40 acres, which would have been on the downhill side, on the downhill side to the south is where they came in. And the place had been replanted, but the seedlings were only up a couple of feet high. But there were other saplings and stuff that had come up, and and some brush and stuff, and there were some old piles of stumps and limbs and stuff out there in places. But they came up and they came easing out onto this corner, and we're sitting there watching it, and it was in the morning, and there were mule deer does. They were mule deer hunting, and there were does out there feeding. And as the sun came up, the thermals changed direction. When it's cool and dark, the thermals go down the slope.
Yes.
As the sun comes out and starts warming the air up, the thermals get stagnant for just a few minutes, and then they start going up the slope.
Yep.
And that's what I mean. It happens even around here, you know, hunting in hollers and stuff. But anyhow, when the thermals changed and started going up the slope, these mule deer that were down there in the bottom quarter of this 40 acres, they threw their head up and they started, you know, looking down slope and at something, and they started easing up the slope, and all of a sudden a dadgum Bigfoot comes running out of the brush at the bottom of the 40 acres of cutover and running up the slope at these deer. And the deer, of course, start running uphill away from it. The hunter, got all crazy acting, and he's like, oh my God, it's a Bigfoot. He threw his rifle up, which he had a Savage 110 chambered in 270. And the guide starts yelling at him, don't shoot it. And the guy shot it. And he jacked another round in, and as he was fixing to shoot it, the guide hit his gun barrel, and he shot down the ground, but he had hit it solid. It screams a time or two and then falls down. In the meantime, up the slope where the deer are running towards, a bigger Bigfoot, a mature adult, jumped up out of a brush pile, up the slope, and screams and takes off running straight towards the hunter. And the guy's yelling at him, you know, run. The hunter jacks another round in and throws up and shoots and misses. And he went to jack another round in, and he short stroked it and jammed his rifle up. And what short stroking is, I know, Gerald, you know what I'm talking about, because he didn't pull the bolt all the way back, and he probably didn't eject the empty. Right. And then tried to slam the bolt back forward, and it got it all wadded up. He probably crimped the empty up on the feed ramp and partially into the chamber, the empty cartridge. But anyway, he jammed it up. The booger is screaming and yelling, coming down the hill towards him. The guide says, to heck with it. He takes off running to the truck. The truck's about 150 yards away, back up the logging road that came into the southeast corner of this 40 acres. All right. The guide said that the last thing he saw was, as he was running, he said he looked back and he saw the thing coming into his field of view, even as he was running down the logging road. And he said he had a 7mm Magnum of some kind. He just threw his rifle off in the brush. And so it wouldn't slow him down. He said he looked back again just in time to see the booger hit him. And he said the booger came in, hit him with his right hand, just like this, yanked up and just ripped the guy's head off. And the guy's head goes flying back behind the booger. So then he grabbed one of his arms and snatched his arm off and threw it. And the guy, and of course, the guy caught an extra gear at that point and got into jumped in his truck, fired it up, and spun it around and got the heck out of Dodge. All right. We heard the story from a friend of the guide, a friend of the boys that was a friend of mine. I heard it from we had a mutual friend, and or more like a mutual acquaintance, but it was an acquaintance of a good friend of mine who was also into Bigfoot, and he was in school out there in Colorado, and there at Pueblo. Anyway, so I was down in Arizona at the time. No, not Arizona. I was in New Mexico at White Sands Missile Range at the time. And we had a 3-day weekend come up, and my buddy had been telling me about this. He said, man, you need to go up there and investigate this. And I said, well, why don't you go with me? He said, I ain't going up there. And, he had something else to do. Well, he had relatives over in Las Cruces. He was wanting to go spend the holiday weekend with them. I said, well, I'm going I called the guy, my buddy got hold of the guy, and we agreed to meet in Alamosa. I said, I'm going to Alamosa. So I took off up there, and he didn't want to talk to me at first, and I had to go get one of my sighting report journals and let him look at it, so he'd realize I was legit. Now this was back in the mid '80s now, or late '80s. It could have been like '87, '88, '89, somewhere right along in there. Anyhow, I let him look at one of my sighting report journals, and he realized that I was a legit investigator. So he told me the story. I took a friend of mine with me another friend that worked with me that was also an investigator, and plus he was an ex-cop, and the ex-cop told me later, he said, that guy is telling the truth. I said, and he took us out and he showed us where it happened. And we went back, and my buddy had to leave. So I spent the next couple of days up there. I went to the, actually my buddy and I went to the sheriff's department, and he had retired from Okaloosa County Sheriff's Department down in Florida. And he thought he could get some information out of the sheriff's deputies there in whatever county that is that Alamosa's in. He couldn't get any information out of them at all. So, and we tried to talk. We asked around. We tried to talk to game wardens. Couldn't get any information out of them. We tried to talk to the coroner, and couldn't get him. So when my buddy had to go back to Alamogordo, I stayed over another day and went to see the coroner the next day. Coroner wouldn't tell me squat, and so I actually wrote it up. My friend, he was totally 100% convinced that the story was true. And I also went to the local newspaper office and went to the library and got a whole bunch of went through gobs of newspaper records and stuff like that of that week or so in there when this thing supposedly happened. I couldn't find any corroborating evidence at all. And so I wrote it up as down at the bottom of my report. I wrote a detailed report, and I said improbable, needs more corroboration and investigation. Improbable, needs further corroboration. Well, my buddy was convinced that it was true. So he, hey, Gary Spikes. Anyway, over the next year or so, three times, my friend went back up to southern Colorado, northern New Mexico, and was poking around, talking to other law enforcement people in other counties and newspaper reporters and crap. And in the little bitty town of Los Hoyos, New Mexico, which is just south across the border in northern New Mexico from southern Colorado, some little newspaper there he came across, he found an article about it said a possible bear killing or a wild animal killing, that a hunter got killed by a wild animal, and the date matched. And he got a copy of it, came out, I told you, here it is right here. Here's your corroborating evidence. And it had the correct county, it had the correct date and everything. And so now, mind you, 2 or 3 years had passed. So we went back and looked again and couldn't find anything. Couldn't find anybody else that would talk to us. Couldn't find the people that had written the article. And so fast forward 30-something years. And now my buddy, the ex-law enforcement officer, he went to his grave 100% convinced that the whole story was true. And I never changed my assessment of it from improbable or needs more corroboration. All right, fast forward now this was back in the late 80s and early 90s when we were investigating. The incident happened in the 80s. So fast forward to about 6 years ago, about 2018. Had a friend that went to church that we went to church with that grew up in Wyoming, but had worked and spent a lot of time all over the West and had spent quite a bit of time in Colorado. All right. She had a friend that grew up in Colorado, in southern Colorado. Well, she was visiting, and so they came out to the house. We decided to, since she was visiting, that we'd feed them supper. We'd have a little cookout at my house. So they came, and we're sitting there at the supper table eating, and I said, now where'd you grow up? When she told me, and it was a county right next to Archuleta County. And she knew all about Alamosa, and I can't remember some of the other towns that are out in that area. She's very familiar with the area. And turns out her dad was a game warden. I said, okay. You ever hear your dad talk about somebody that was supposedly killed by a Bigfoot back in late 80s? And she said, oh, yeah, absolutely. My dad was one of the guys that looked for the Bigfoot. And she said, yeah, the guy, a hunter shot and killed one, and then another one popped up and attacked him and tore his head off and both of his arms and one of his legs. See, we hadn't heard all of that because, we had never found anybody actually seen the body. And she said, and they found a big old huge blood spot where the kid that was the guide said that the booger fell, that the Bigfoot fell when he shot it. Said they found a big huge bloody spot and found a drag line going back off in the woods. And and they said, and they had airplanes and all kind of stuff out looking for that booger for weeks, and they never found it. And I'm sitting there with my mouth hanging open, and my then wife had her mouth hanging open because she'd heard me talk about this story several times, and she thought it was all BS. But here I am sitting across the table from the daughter of one of the game wardens that was involved in the investigation of it. And she said, yeah, they wrote it up as an unknown animal attack because they didn't mess up the hunting and everything, because the local economy depends tremendously on the hunters coming in. And so there was a big cover up. So that's the story. So I got a absolute, as good a corroboration as it's possible to get. Here we are 30 something years, really closer to 40 years later. 40 years later, we finally get corroboration.
Well,
aren't you glad you didn't shoot it?
How much is a license out of state if you got people that come in? Like I know ours, you can get your license for $100 for your area. But if you go hunt out of state and have to get your license and like your WMA stamps and all that, you're looking at hundreds of dollars per person. Well, just to hunt across the state line.
I used to go up there and elk hunt, and we used to hunt in one of this is back in the 80s now, and I don't know what it is now, but back in the 80s, 40 years ago, we were paying $315 for an out of state license.
Oh my gosh!
80s, no telling what it is now.
Just listening and going by what you said, I'm glad that we got out of there when we did.
I'm glad you got out of there too, because there was at least 3 of them.
Aren't you glad you didn't pull the trigger?
Oh, I didn't even draw. I just put my hand on it. I didn't even draw.
Yeah. Well, one thing I tell people, if you see one, there's probably at least three more there. You know, there's most likely 2 or 3 more there that you don't see. That's like when the one walked across the road in front of us and didn't even crunch the gravel, and we're sitting there looking at it. Somebody said with the other guys with a thermal said, "Look down the road! Look down the road!" We look down the road. There's 3 more standing in the road looking at us.
I want to ask you guys.
About 90 yards.
I want to ask you guys another question.
Yeah.
I watched this other stuff. This guy Les Stroud and the other guy. Do you think what they're talking about is real? Because some of the things that I've seen, like the other guy, I can't call his name, but he has like pictures of what he said was an up close face. It didn't look like what I saw.
No,
That was Todd Stanley.
Todd Stanley.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, it looked
It's
nothing
a lot
like
of
what I
snake
saw.
oil salesmen.
yeah,
A lot of snake oil.
yeah. That
There are no experts. We're not commenting on everybody else's shows.
now,
but-
hey, but let's put it like this, Gerald. I think there's a lot of people out here that probably did have an encounter, and then they get going and they start making money, and then they run out of stuff, and they start fabricating stuff to stay on top.
Yeah, because none of the actual pictures or faces that he showed looked nothing like what I saw.
Exactly.
Much alcohol.
But now here's the other thing too, Gerald.
From the airport.
Not all of not everybody, not all these things do look exactly alike. There are different ones, but the stuff like the pictures that you're talking about, I'm just gonna call BS on that.
Okay.
A deer in Florida is the size of a Great Dane versus a deer in Alberta, Canada, is the size of a Clydesdale. I mean, territorial wise, you know, they probably go ahead.
Well, for instance, the deer, a large buck that we get around here in North Alabama, weigh about 240 pounds on the hoof. That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's something's wrong with a 2-year-old buck in Missouri, where I lived and hunted for 19 years. It should be 325 pounds or better if it's 2 years old in northern Missouri, where I used to live and hunt. And I lived up there from 2002 to 2020, and so actually I was there just short of 19 years, but I killed a bunch of bucks that were 325 to 335 pounds up there. Well, not a bunch, one a year, and I killed very few that weighed over 200 pounds down here. So so you got regional variations.
Well, the colder the weather, the more mass the animal has to have to survive.
Exactly.
I think not even what Gerald's talking about size, but just the pictures that he's showing, the facial don't look right.
Nothing.
Tell Gerald where you're always telling people to go look if they want to see a close rendition of what a lot of them's going to look like.
Gerald, there's a book out there. In fact, you can punch it up online. There's a book called It's Them. It's the name of it is Them, and then it's got the plus sign, the regular plus sign like that. Them plus Us is the name of the book.
I thought it was
and it's about what they think that Neanderthals really looked like. You look at the pictures of Neanderthals in that book and get rid of the spear and get rid of the vertical slit eyes, the cat eyes, and change the nose a little bit to look a little bit more human. And you've got what we call a type 2 booger, which is the most common one in Alabama. And is much more prevalent down where you're from, Gerald. We've got the type, what we call the type 1s, or the big patty types, which is like the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Uh-huh.
And there are some type 1s here in Bankhead Forest, here where Greg lives, that will migrate in the wintertime north towards the Tennessee River where I live, And so we have type 1. There you go. See that, Gerald? What Spencer's putting up there?
Yes, nose, brow ridge, but not the teeth.
The teeth aren't pointed or anything; they're just yellow.
No, the teeth look more like big chiclets. You know, big old blocky looking teeth.
Now, Tim, the booger that you saw here 6 weeks ago when you was going out my driveway.
Yeah.
Type 1, type 2.
I think it was
no red eyes.
Yeah. And you can have type 1s and type 2s living right next to each other. In fact, down in Mississippi, I got an area that I've studied for years, and there is one troop of type 1s that live in there, and they're surrounded. They got 6 troops of type 2s, the swamp ape type, the Neanderthal type around them. And I figured that over the years that
more like lower left corner, but without the fangs.
Without the canines?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. But I honestly thought that the type 2s would interbreed with the type 1s and basically breed them out of existence. But after studying those things for well over 30 years, they're still distinctively separate. The type 1s haven't interbred at least here we go.
Closer.
Yeah. The type 1s
right here.
Yeah.
It's a bigger gap.
Yes, exactly. And matter of fact, the gap between the bridge of the nose right here and the distance from the bridge of the nose right here to the end of the nose is the same on a booger as from the end of the nose to the mouth.
Yeah, like I said, it was a bigger gap right here.
Yeah, right. This is a lot further.
Yeah, a lot further. In a booger, the gap is about the equal distance from the end of the nose to the lips as it is from the end of the nose to the bridge of the nose.
See, just talking to you guys is like refreshing because you understand what I saw, and it's like you believe what I saw.
Mm-hmm. Oh, brother, yeah. way more than believe. We know.
Yeah, we know.
And like I said, it's been so long that when you hold stuff in for so long and don't talk about it, then when it all come flooding back to you.
Yeah,
it's really strange right now that I'm talking to you guys
imagine how many people that have been hunting in the same area that you're talking about that have seen stuff, but nobody ever says anything. And if we could just at some point, if we could get rid of the stigma and just have everybody open up about what they've actually experienced, we might grow by leaps and bounds just off the information. Hey, now is a good time to say we're over 2 hours. Gerald, you can keep talking, but I just got to say this. Y'all, we got Kumbo on here. We got Troy Allen on here. Y'all don't ever get to talk to Troy Allen. He will be at the meet and greet, though.
Well, let me tell you, Troy Allen knows as much about boogers as I do in any part of it, and he knows more than me in some areas of booger research. I'll tell you that up front.
And that's why you guys should try to come to the meet and greet, because they'll be there and you can talk to them in person. And aside from that, we're just going to have a good time. Gerald, I hope you get to come to the meet and greet.
I'll be there.
That'd be awesome.
You ain't going to go hungry, Gerald.
Hey, look, Gerald, I told Gerald when we was backstage a while ago or earlier. No, it may have been I was on the phone. I told him, I made jambalaya. And what'd you tell me?
That's my specialty.
But wait, Gerald. Now, you in Alabama, so I know you know a little bit about barbecue. Little bit. You're in Alabama.
I got friends from Louisiana, Texas. We all hunt together. I hunt in Texas a lot as well. I hunt in Louisiana a lot as well. And see, some of my friends, I haven't really talked about it because I don't know if they want me to say about it. But the places that I hunted in Louisiana, they talk about that all the time. They talked about Well, they called it the Rougarou.
Rougarou,
Yeah.
Rougarou. Yeah.
But they was always telling me, don't go here, don't go there, stay in the box stand, and
Gerald, you ever hunted down there southeast of Natchitoches, southwest of Natchitoches?
No, I hunted in Homer, mostly off Homer. The place that we hunted in Homer, the Mossy Oak people actually bought it, so we can't hunt there anymore.
Oh heck. Well, that's what happened to me. One of my good hunting areas up there in northern Missouri got bought out by Hunter Specialties.
Yeah, the Mossy Oak people bought ours, so I haven't hunted there. I haven't hunted there since 2019.
Oh man!
But yeah, they talked about the Rougarou, and they was saying something about a skunk ape and all of this stuff, and I was like, I wanted to talk about it, but I just kept it to myself. And like I said, I never saw anything down there. I never saw any sign of anything down there or heard anything like that. But they used to just talk about it. Like we sit around and cook and they talk trash, and I just listened to what they were saying.
Yeah.
But I never mentioned what I saw because I didn't know if they was gonna take me serious or not, so I never mentioned it to them.
Gerald, hunting club I used to be in, we had one guy that hunted down in this one creek bottom, and over a period of 2 or 3 years, he had 7 deer stolen from him. The fella he was an older fella, and he had, he couldn't just jump out of the stand and haul butt down there. And he had 7 deer taken from him that he shot back over near the creek. And who was that? A Little Twisted.
Yeah. So that first, that's look, we got to get more in touch with Little Twisted, because I swear Joe Parker lives this.
Hey people, really, our email. All you gotta do is reach out to us, and we'll call you in person and go over everything. Just saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I can tell you guys right now. I can tell you guys right now. I wanna pick you guys' brains about what's going on, but I don't want to go. I don't want to go out there with y'all right now.
Hey, you don't have to come to the meet and greet. Greg can put you in touch with everybody. I'm telling y'all, at the meet and greet.
Wait, Gerald, look, all we're gonna be doing at the meet and greet will be just like this right here, talking.
Oh, I'm fine with that. I'm just saying, when y'all go out looking for them, I'll stay home. I don't want to.
Except for we have really good food at the meet and greet.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Yes, if he's a fan of the white sauce, if you ain't, we might have to put him in a book call.
You're not getting white sauce. There's no white sauce involved with the meat and greet.
Greg made some white sauce when I was up there visiting him. It was pretty good.
Look at that.
There you go.
Hey, well, Gerald, brother, you don't know how honored I am that you come on here, because I know what it's like to step out and come out of your comfort zone and talk to people about something that's happened that a lot of people will ridicule you about.
Yeah.
But, I just, today, I told you, brother, that these people was understanding and it would make you feel at home, and everybody would. And I just hope that's the way you felt today.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're in the boat with a bunch of good people now.
Well, as long as we don't sink, I'm good. Well, I can swim a little, so I'm pretty good with that too. But I want to ask you guys another question.
Go ahead.
This skunk ape thing, is it the same? You think that's the same as what I saw, or?
I think they're called different things.
I think the skunk ape is a type 2, and that's what's primarily down in your area is the type 2s. And I think the skunk ape is just another name for a regular booger, type 2 booger. Or type
as far as, like, I've told Greg that since I've been paying attention, I've heard like wood knocks, and I always consider that just sounds in the woods. I never thought about it was something, but now that I've did a little research and paid attention, yes, I've heard wood knocks and just like limb breaks, but I'm just thinking it's just natural what go on in the woods. You're gonna hear limbs break and fall in the woods all the time.
Have you paid much attention to owl calls?
No.
Well, see, that's another big thing they use is they imitate a lot of birds.
Oh, and I hear them at all times when I'm in the woods.
All right, well, let me tell you.
Yeah, but do you hear them without the trill? Do you
Right.
hear just the
Right.
ooh, ooh, ooh?
All
Or
right.
do you hear the ooh?
Hang on, I'll do it.
I think I need to pay more attention.
Gerald, when you a barred owl, that's the big owl with a round top head. The barred owl, Barred.
Uh-huh.
They do that. Woo, 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 woo.
That's what I hear.
That's
All
pretty
right.
good.
All right, now a booger will do it, except he'll do it. Woo, 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 woo. He won't put the trail on the end of it.
And I'm just sitting here thinking I've heard both.
All right.
Yeah.
And then they do a lot of different variations. I'm not going to do it on the air, but there's a call that's a variation of that we call the piss off call. And that's when you're out there and you just sort of you can feel that they're there. In fact, look here, Greg, I'm getting chili bumps on me.
Yeah.
You can feel the eyeballs on you. You know that they're there.
And I know that feeling oh so well. It's like,
No, we're not doing the show far.
Me sitting here talking to you guys, I got that same feeling when I was telling you. I got that same little feeling in the pit of my stomach that I had when I actually saw it.
Yeah. Well, I'll teach you a couple of calls. And
he don't want to call them up.
No, sir. No, thank you.
Kumo.
Tell you what, I'll teach you.
No, thank you.
Kumo said,
teach me a couple.
Hey, where's all this info been? You know, all this time that I've been knowing you. I want to know.
Teach me a couple of things to avoid them. I'll take that in stride. Teach me a couple of things to avoid them.
Right.
Yeah. That's the good thing about it, Gerald. Like when you get to that meet and greet, get over there and spend a day or two or whatever, you can stay with us over there. Is you've got where we can sit around the campfire, we can have a bowl of food, plate of food, whatever, and there's going to be a lot of people there that are so knowledgeable and had these encounters.
Yeah.
And it ain't like a conference where you're just sitting in a chair having to listen to people. No, you're walking up, shaking hands. A lot of these people are going to hug your neck. We may have to get them a stool to hug you, but get them a ladder to stand on. But brother, you just mingle in the crowd, and people are they're so willing to talk to you, just like what you've seen here today. I mean, it's like you're gonna feel like you're going to a family reunion to a family you didn't know you had.
Yeah, it's like when I was up there with you and we went to Walmart to pick up some things, and people was like, "You the guys from Facebook, right?" Like, I would never think that people just walk up to me just to talk to me, like, "You the guys from the hunting group?" Like, yeah, pretty much. Even though I know I was probably like the only like brown face around, but it was okay.
Yeah. Hey,
it was okay.
If we're gonna go into stereotypical, Misty up there, she goes in that category about the white women that's gonna try to make friends and pet anything she can find. That's her. She fits that stereo.
Yes.
There, that's her.
That sounds like my cousin's wife. She thinks she can pet anything that moves.
Yeah.
I joke with her all the time.
Skinwalker's following her.
Yeah, Missy, I think she's got a skinwalker at her place.
I don't want to pet that.
Well, here, I've heard about the little people, my whole life. Literally, my grandma and great grandma talked about that when I was just like 2 years old, when I was just barely old enough to understand anything. Talking about the little people. I've, thank the Lord, never seen one. Well, we go to LBL last April, and dadgum, my wife sees one. And she's never seen a Bigfoot, but she saw one of the little people. And I thought she was joking. No, she was dead serious about it.
Yeah, it creeps me out.
It creeps me out too.
And now that you
right now it makes me feel good because now I know I'm not the only crazy person. See, I'm surrounded by a lot of other crazy people.
Hey,
Yeah.
Right.
They can't call me crazy.
Get over here, Paul.
You gotta find your tribe and stick with them. It'll make you feel better.
Yeah, they can't call me crazy anymore.
Gerald,
Now that you've
Yes, sir.
opened your eyes up to the Bigfoot thing that you know they're real and all, now you're going to be more astute and watching stuff in the woods. The only problem with that is you're going to start seeing other shit now. You're going now that you're paying close attention, you're going to start seeing that these other shit that you've been overlooking.
Damn it, I hope not.
Well, dude, that's just it's a Pandora's box. Now that you've opened the lid, you know, there's other shit in that box.
That's all right. We got long. You can go in that box as long as you got friends that you can hang out
right.
with.
And too, like we come to the, you know, you can go to these conferences, and these guys are all about making money and fame and all that.
Right.
But a lot of people that's really knowledgeable, you know, and I give Kumbo his props all the time. He's, you know, he's out front, he talking and doing. I don't do all that shit. I can't do it. That's not me.
Right.
And he's caught a lot of hell over the years, you know, various places. I'm just not a for profit, fame. I'm just the opposite. I try to melt into the crowd. I try not.
Yeah, you like me. If I can go in the back door, that's one.
Yeah, that's where I want to be. You know? That's why I ain't getting all these podcasts and, you know.
It's kind of like what you were talking about earlier, where you were saying these other shows that you're looking at and you didn't see anything that really looked like what you actually saw. I'll be the first one to tell you, there's a whole lot of people that are interested in the subject. They go on Facebook, they go on YouTube, they watch all these channels, and I'm not bashing anybody, but a lot of these channels and a lot of the Facebook pages, they don't really have anybody on there that really knows what they're talking about. A lot of the people that really know what they're talking about, they're not out in the public. Troy Allen still won't do a damn show. Eventually, at some point, we'll trap his ass down and get him to do a
I
show.
have ever been on a show.
I feel like
I definitely appreciate you talking to me. I definitely appreciate you talking to me, and you open my eyes to a lot of things that I need to pay attention to.
No, we appreciate you being on here. I'm just glad that you trust us enough to do a show. I can't believe that you trust us at all after meeting Greg and knowing Greg. I mean, damn. If you knew Greg, for 60 minutes.
I don't want to get Spencer in trouble, but you got people that's out there just for profit and show, and they live off other people's research, and then they claim that research for their own.
How many?
And I'm not going to say the name, but they're just money makers. They're just money makers. So,
how many people do you see take? I mean, if we just stopped everybody that ever sees this show, if we just stopped and talked about the beast of LBL, Kumbo is right there in that room. That's where the damn story came. Well, that's publicly where it came from. You see all these people talking all this stuff, and all of a sudden there are extra witnesses and there are extra murders and more details and everything. Y'all, you got to meet the real people that have actually been through this and done it and where it comes from and everything like that. And then you'll start getting some of the real information. I've been at outings where people break out their phones and they've never been on a YouTube show and they don't post anything on Facebook. And they're like, look at this, look at this, look at this. It'll blow your mind. There's a lot of people out there that know the real deal, but they just don't share it publicly.
There's real pictures. There's good pictures. You just don't see them.
Exactly.
There's been good pictures around for a while because I took some of them myself. But they get the Bigfoot world has changed. Back in the 90s, we caught hell. We were harassed.
Yeah.
I've had computers crashed. I've had pictures on my computer disappear. Computers burn up. I have been threatened. Phone calls. We have had people call and say, "Hey, you shouldn't be hanging out with them guys. We know you was over in Mississippi." And I mean, just a lot of, it's gotten better. It used to catch hell for being in the Bigfoot world.
Wow.
But now it's got out there in the open. It's in the open.
I saw this video on YouTube where this guy was talking about the Bigfoots took over his property, took over his house, and he ended up having to move. He said that he sent his wife and kids away first. And his brother, yes. What do you think about that?
100. The details that are out there, Michael Humphrey specifically, who I've talked to quite a bit, he says that nobody gets the details right, but overall, the story, I'm telling you, the man is telling the truth. His overall, Kumbo knows him. Well, I guess I probably shouldn't say that publicly. I'm sorry, Kumbo. But the man is telling the truth. The story is legit. It's the details of the story get mixed up. That's like the Beast of LBL. Everybody keeps taking that story and just adding on to it and changing it and moving stuff all around.
But it's like I said, I want to know. I just don't want to go. I want to know about it. I just don't want to go out there.
See, LBL is not the same old LBL. They've changed it a lot. It used to be, you could ride down the road and you could chuck a spear out of the deer. I mean, because they wouldn't run. They had all them hollers and all that stuff was planted and food. Literally there was more deer than you could count. And the food sources there, and the boogers and dog men were in there thick too. Now they don't do all that planting. They went through there and did a big push and pushed a lot of stuff out of there. So LBL ain't the same as it used to be because it got too public.
And the government's has built some installations in there as well.
Yes, sir. That they're not listed.
Right.
But we know they're there.
Oh, I talked to somebody that told me where one of those was, y'all. I'll tell you about that privately, and it looks right by Google Maps.
I can take you to 3 of them.
Yeah, I know where 2 of them are in there.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Are they domes? Are there domes there?
One of these days, there's a place I've been for 10 years or longer. There's a place I've been wanting to go down into, but we're going to have to choose the time carefully to go in there. You're going to have the right kind of people and with the right kind of equipment.
We could use Spencer, let him go in there at night wearing his peanut butter covered underwear.
Yeah. Well, I figured that we just take him.
So when you guys go out doing this, are you armed?
It depends.
We don't go stupidly. We mostly in the trucks, we're right there at the truck most time, because some of you don't know how they're going to react where you're at. You don't know. You may be there the wrong day. You may be there the wrong day. You may went in there and did calls and got some responses, but you just there the wrong day. So
we're all the
time to be safe.
But it's not really for Bigfoot. I hate to say it, but it's for people and big cats or something like that.
When we were the outlaws, I was kind of kept people safe. I was the security guy. It was kind of on the outskirts of everybody with a 50 caliber.
Because I just wanted to know, because if I ever did go with you guys, I don't think I could go if I'm not armed.
And if we went somewhere with outlaws, which we used to have a lot of success, when I said it's time to go, we left because I know these things, and sometimes you can overstay your welcome.
Troy and I were the ones that would sort of, we knew, we've been around them enough, most of our lives. We know when it's time to go.
Yeah, when it's time to leave, it's time to leave. It's only going to get worse from there.
Right, and it can go to from fun to damn deadly serious, just like that. I'm talking about instantly.
So when the first one made the whoop call and the other 2 answered, what do you think was going on?
They were letting them know you was in the area. Yeah. Now, if they would have did a 2-syllable call, then they would have perceived you as a major threat. If you get a 3-syllable call, you better get the hell out of there.
What explain?
It could be like on our farm, they used halt calls all the time for, like, if we had somebody, my farm was in, you had to pipe sunshine.
If you hear a hawk at night,
and you hear
get out of there.
You hear it. You go in an area and you hear kind of not real close, but 100 yards away. You hear a hawk in the middle of the night. Oh, and you hear a hawk. And you're like, what in the hell? Well, that is a hawk. That's a damn booger. But like perceiving threats, when we'd have somebody say, if one of us come across the bullhead into where our farm was, we'd usually get a 1-syllable call. Now, if the postman come or somebody that would come every once in a while would come through there, you might get a 2-syllable call. But if something come on that farm that wasn't supposed to be there or unexpected or something like that, you'd get a 3-syllable call. And that would be something's out of the ordinary, something's here it ain't supposed to be, and it might be dangerous. It's like a threat level. That's the way we interpret it on the farm. And he could be in the kitchen and I'd hear a 2-syllable call, and I'd tell my grandma to post, the damn mailman's here, I think. It's about time for the mailman. I'd say, the mailman's here. She's like, hey, I said, I just heard 2 calls. I said, it's time for the mailman. And them boogers just called from up there at the bullhead. And it's a mailman,
So basically, if I don't bother,
you got to quit thinking. Worst thing you can do is think of these things as big apes or monkeys. They're not. You have better luck thinking of these things as a native, natives.
Right. Somebody just as smart as you are, but from another country.
Yeah, if I don't bother them, they shouldn't bother me. That's
most of the time. Yeah,
most of the time. But
if you're respectful,
unfortunately, they are close enough to us. Well, they're
like you always got one in the bunch.
There's always you'll have a rogue, or you'll have.
I heard that on another show. They said you got, just like people, you got some assholes and you got some.
Right.
You have some.
They're right. Look, it's just like us. There's a Spencer in every freaking crowd.
Right. You got some that never had a lot of dealings with humans and they're scared of humans and they really don't want to have to do with us. But then you have some that's had some, like here at Greg's, they're curious. And they know Greg ain't going to hurt them here. So Greg has a lot of interaction with them here. Same thing on our farm. We had a lot of interaction because they knew we were their friends. We wasn't going to hurt them. And like I said, particularly at that farm, I wasn't worried about nobody sneaking up through the woods and messing with my grandparents because they'd never made it.
Yeah, there are quite a few. There are quite a few stories, and some really, really close to Greg's place here, where the boogers watched over a family and protected them. There was one pretty well known about family had 2 girls, and they had to walk 1.5 miles out to where to get in a school bus for the school bus to pick them up. And they had some out of towners that moved in there that were big time moonshiners, and I don't know if they were druggies or not. And they got crossways with that family, and the boogers came in there and tore up their big old moonshine still. Destroyed. Now we're talking about a big one. We're talking about with like a 3,000 gallon tank on the dadgum boiler. And so
with what I saw, and by it I don't think I ever had the thought that it was gonna harm me. But like I told Greg and Mr. Spencer, it kind of puffed up.
Yeah.
But when I put my hand on my sidearm, all that changed. Like it knew what a gun was.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
So when it made the turn and it ran away, it's like maybe if I hadn't have been so afraid, the situation would have been different.
Yeah.
But by me seeing what I saw, I've never seen this, didn't believe in this. Like I told Greg, I was totally afraid. I've never been that afraid in my life.
Yeah. Something else, Gerald, you need to realize when you hear a call or a knock or something, and there's others in the area that answer it, just like what you were talking about, they almost never answer a call with the same call back. It's almost always, not all the time. Sometimes you'll hear a knock, and they'll give an answering knock back from somewhere a good distance away, 1/2 mile or better away. But most of the time, when you hear a call, the answering call will either be, will be something, will be a different type or possibly a knock. And That's something to sort of keep in mind. I know when one of them made a call that you were talking about earlier, what did the first call sound like?
It was like a heavy whoop like sound.
Whoop, sort of like that.
But I could almost feel it just as much as I could hear it.
Right, because it had a little bit of infrasound in it. What kind of answer did it get back?
The second one was shorter, but it was similar. It was almost the same to me. But like I said, I was afraid, so
I got you.
It was shorter than the first one.
Right. Yeah.
But the third one sounded more like the first one.
Okay. Huh.
If you have one that sounds like he's coughing at you, you're too close. You need to back up.
And if you ever hear one hiss at you,
you better get
get your ass out of there right now.
That's the last one.
Don't even think about it. Turn your ass. In fact, it's better to back off. Back away about 20 yards if you can.
And if you've ever heard a big gator bellowing or hissing, a big gator hissing,
yeah,
that's what it is. But it'll actually be louder. But if you hear a hiss, you can get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
What about the honeysuckle smell and the sweet rotting meat?
Rotting. If you ever encounter just out in the middle of nowhere where there's obviously no fruit trees, no scuppernongs or muscadine vines, a bunch of them on the ground and stuff, and you encounter a sort of a sick sweet smell, you're too close. But if you encounter the sick sweet smell, but nothing else happens, you got one right on top of you, but it's staying hidden. And you need to be very, very careful, because what you're smelling is its breath.
It'll smell like piss and blackberries.
Yeah, it's a sick, sweet smell. It's like fermented fruit or rotten fruit. Plus, it'll sometimes have another smell mixed into it, like he said, like piss, or maybe even almost sometimes like burnt rubber or something. But a lot of times it's just a real strong, concentrated, rotten apple, fermenting apple smell or something.
Isn't that the one that's on the cover of Bill White's book? In that the one that Kumbo was talking about that you're talking about?
Yeah, Spencer, they can do a YouTube search, and that episode is labeled "Bigfoot Watched Their House Burn," and that actual incident, I've talked to some people that knew this family. I've actually talked to them, and they pretty much backed up what that story is, and that is that was a lady. She had like 4 daughters, and they was a moonshiner. Absolutely, he burnt their house down, burnt them out.
Yeah.
And the Bigfoot came out of the woods and squatted down and watched the house burn down. But now these people, they dealt with these things for a while, and that happened within 10 miles of where all 3 of us right here sitting.
Yeah.
That's a real good video to watch. If they'll YouTube pull it up, I just looked it up on my phone because I was pretty sure that was the name of it.
I cannot stress enough to everybody how much you should read this book, Southern Bigfoot Files, Alabama, by Tal Branco, Mr. Bill White. You should read that book. You can Kindle it on Amazon. You can't buy the paperback version anymore. You can get the Kindle version for $5. You should read this book. And Gerald, for you, this is all about Alabama. And it freaking excellent. A wealth of information.
And Gerald, Tal Branco, Bill White was a friend of mine and Greg's. We I spent
Mark Green.
And Mark Green. I spent 3 days down in Arkansas at his house with him, a couple of years, about 3 or 4 years ago before he died, and just talking.
All right, now here's a celebrity. Sit down.
Yeah.
Here's our right here.
So Gerald,
Gerald,
Yeah.
Hey there.
But,
What are you doing, girl?
Guys, we're at 2 hours and 45 minutes. For everybody, I mean, we could keep the show going for hours and hours. If you want to meet all of them in person and pick their brain, come to the meet and greet. Gerald, talk to Greg, and he can put you in touch with them, and they can answer all your questions, brother.
Yes, sir. I will do.
I hope you come to the meet and greet
with a bunch of good people. So don't worry about them people giving you hell. You know, they don't know.
Hey,
these people gonna give you hell. They ain't been off the road, like I said, 50, 100 yards.
right.
They don't.
Yeah, it's not a problem anymore.
I have to mention that Pam, PJ Arkansas, Mark Newbill has the next episode coming out. I think, Misty, do you know, is it next Thursday? Did he release it?
I'm not sure.
It's anyway.
Thursday.
Do what?
This Thursday.
This coming Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah. Guys, please check that out. The last one was great. This is like part 2 on that. Pam and Paul have them on their property, and they've been going through a very detailed account, kind of like Bigfoot Odyssey, where Mark went out there and went over everything with them. Really looking forward to that. Please check that out. Keep man, who was I thinking about that needs our damn prayers? There's
Everybody.
yeah, but no, there's somebody that we know, Jeff Townsend.
Yeah.
Jeff, Christy, Mark's not
Oh,
been
Troy.
feeling good. There's been all kinds of people.
Hey, I'm gone. I'm
Larry,
like that.
Roger.
Yes, keep
I'm
rocking.
coming in a medical enigma. So
Troy,
Troy,
Troy could do a whole YouTube show on just the medical stuff, not to mention the Bigfoot stuff. But
yeah, I don't know how in the hell I'm still alive.
Y'all, we need to be praying for Billy Schilling and Gary Spikes both.
yes, well, Billy Schilling is not concerned. He's told me in person he just don't care what the doctors say. He's fine.
Kevin
But,
Ashby.
We still praying for him.
I want
yes.
to say real fast. I
Kevin
want to
Ashby, David Hughes' family.
What, Kuma?
I said I want to real quick say hi to Pyromedic out there in northeast Oklahoma.
Pyro, you see,
Yeah.
you come to the meet and greet, you meet everybody loves you, and you dodge the second meet and greet, Pyro.
Well, you guys don't look at me strange, but I'm just sitting there looking from mouth to mouth, trying to suck in here and listen to everything y'all say, because that's probably how I'll be. Because I'm gonna sit there and listen to everything. Because I really, when I say I want to know, I want to know.
Well, this is a good show, but this is I wouldn't say this is Bigfoot kindergarten, but Bigfoot elementary school anyway. But going to the meet and greet where you get to spend some time out there and we can talk where we ain't broadcasting to the world. We can share things that we won't share.
There's a
online.
lot of stuff, and I'd say at least 50% of stuff we don't
share. We don't put on the air.
And then a lot of stuff me and Kumbo know if we put it out there, we get locked up.
If you some stuff, if you put it out there, then you have 2 months later, everybody is guests on these shows, so they're talking about all the stuff that you just put out there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I did that 4 years ago."
That's been happening forever, people. And there again, those guys that like to moneymaker take other people's stuff and claim it for their own.
So, Troy, look at you.
I didn't say nothing. I just said that you know, guys like that, guys that make money off the stuff, they're money makers.
You know how much?
Yes.
You know how much money me and Troy and Greg have made off of this?
I lost money.
We ain't never made a penny. We've lost probably tens of thousands of dollars over the years.
Yeah.
We've never taken money to do a show. I took $500 to go out to California to Hollywood to talk to a bunch of guys out there, and that's the only money I've ever.
Hey, I get paid in hugs.
That's the only money I've ever taken.
Well, the information is just as good as money to me. I just want to know.
You'll see pictures and hear stories and things from people that you never see on, the podcast, right, because you're sitting around and everybody just kind of sits and tells their stories and shows photos that they've got and stuff that most people's not seen, but they'll show you in person. They just don't put it out there for everybody.
Yeah. Well, they don't want to put it on a YouTube show or put it on Facebook. It's just like real life. Y'all come, you meet the people, you talk to the people. If they like you and they trust you, they will share stuff with you just like in real life. But a lot of the stuff just is not going to happen on YouTube or Facebook. I promise you, those two guys sitting on that couch right there, hi, Abby, and Greg, who's standing right there, if you put those three together, they have more actual knowledge. Oh, there he is. That's the chair that he sits in all the time. That's where he sleeps whenever the booger knocked on the roof. But that's the chair. Anyway, if you took those three guys right there, I'd bet as much money as I have in the bank. They know more about Bigfoot than all of the other YouTube shows if you put them all together. That's how much confidence I have in it. And there's going to be 20 other people that you should come and talk to. Come to the meet and greet if you want to. Thank you for checking out the channel. Gerald, thank you very much for sharing the story and just like hanging out with us and everything.
Yes, sir. Not a problem.
Wait backstage for 1 minute. Don't get off just yet. For everybody that hung in through this, we were over 160 people live at one point, which is impressive for us. And Sunday, be nice to everybody. We got a lot of people that need prayers and thoughts and everything. Check out all the other channels. Discover Sasquatch, Squatch and Holler, Sawdust Beat, Misty. Who am I missing? Southern Bigfoot Alliance, DA and Robbie. What?
Discover Sasquatch. I'm trying to think. You put me on the spot. I'm trying to read the comments.
Hey, we're gonna have to let Greg do a podcast on beard care.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, smoke over here, dude. That beard, he takes good care of that beard.
Hey, tell him it's more impressive in person, ain't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You're very impressive in person all the way around. Okay. Anyway.
Hey, Catherine, there, Miss Shit Show Shirley. I'm not sure. She was asking about the Appalachian thing that we were going to do. I don't know. If Greg wants to, we can maybe do it tonight or.
Oh, hey.
I'm ready. Let's roll.
Hey, we'll be here till tomorrow.
That's all y'all.
You guys are going to be there. So, yeah, maybe tonight then, if there's going to be some people there. I know Spencer can't really do it, but.
Spencer's finishing up ribs and I got to work tomorrow. So. All right.
We might try to do it tonight. Let's just see what happens. I got JR hopefully making some pork chops here in a minute. So.
Hey,
and everybody
say something right quick.
Yeah.
I put her on the spot. Go ahead, tell her.
Big love, everybody.
Big love, everybody.
Big love, y'all. Hey, if nothing else, for the 153 people that are watching, hit the thumbs up because we got damn Kumbo and Troy Allen both here, just like showed up for a pop-up episode. Kumbo, by the way, where's Sandy? Did you just leave her at home, or is she sitting out in the
she was there. We got a couple of dogs that just had surgery a couple of days ago, and she's back there taking care of them dogs.
Oh, okay.
And she wasn't feeling very good this morning.
That's what I would need to say some prayers for because she wasn't feeling good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys, we all need just be kind, love everybody. Have thoughts and prayers for everybody, but seriously, pray for our country too. Oh, anyway,
yeah.
Here we go. All right. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. See y'all next round. Gerald, thanks. Great guest, man.
Gerald. It was really nice talking to you. And thanks, guys, for coming on.
Great getting to see you, Gerald.
Yes, sir. Same here. And thank you guys again.
Yes, sir.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Have a good Sunday.
Bye.
Squirrel.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Spencer. We're swapped around.
Huh?
We're swapped around again.
Yep. I know you do it on purpose.